What's the easiest choice you can make? Window instead of middle seat? Picking a vendor who sends a great gift basket? Outsourcing business tasks you hate? What about selling with Shopify? Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit a million orders stage. Shopify's there to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/try. Go to shopify.com/try now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/try.
Tony Dunn, ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
Welcome, Panther fans. It's day one of free agency, but kind of day two. And the Carolina Panthers are putting into action a plan. Dan Morgan's plan. Is his approach to free agency madness, or is it mindful? Are we getting burned, or are we finding jewels? Are we taking it on the chin, or are we getting jewels, hog mollies, focusing on it? I'm going to tell you this, folks. I've got it figured out. The professor, I'm going to give some lecture tonight, some teaching about what Dan Morgan's plan is. And although you might be concerned about the dismantling of a defense that was fool's gold for real, you might be concerned about it. You might be concerned about losing Brian Burns and getting supposedly fleeced. But I'm telling you, folks, there is a method to the madness. There is a mindfulness to this plan. And it might feel uncomfortable because we're finally doing what has to happen. A radical change, a radical purge, a radical rebuild. And it might not work, but I think it's a stress test for the future of Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. You're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. My name is Tony Dunn. This is the longest running Panthers podcast. But guess what? I'm not a football expert, but I am an expert football fan. This show is your show. The number's 252-228-5098. Smash the thumbs up button. Be a part of the conversation. Get in the cat calls. Join the chat. Smash the thumbs up button. But I tell you, I can't wait to talk about the Carolina Panthers with anyone other than my wheelman, Cody Lashney. How you doing, my friend?
Oh, Tony Dunn. I am doing wonderful on a Tuesday night because not only do I get to talk Panther football with my favorite people in the world, but I feel so vindicated right now, Tony. You can vouch for me. I have been one of the longtime fans of Dan Morgan. I wanted to hire Dan Morgan before we hired Fitterer for the first time. I love what my man is doing. I always had reasons to be optimistic about him. He played for the Panthers, played in a Super Bowl for the Panthers, and now over the course of 2 days, Dan Morgan has looked at every position of need for the Panthers and attacked it with ferocity. I love it, Tony Dunn. And you know what? Let's talk about all of this great news with the best damn Panther fans and all of YouTube. You know them and love them. It's our boy Panther Pickle, Adam Sanders, our guy Drew. Happy birthday, Drew. Love you, buddy. Billy Hall, Brandon Malone, the brand ambassador Diesel Skills, Damian Tucker, Daniel Berry Sports Highlights, G Baby in the house. And Tony, let me tell you, G Baby, I've never seen him more excited, brother. You have to get those G Baby vibes up in here, bro. Hank Rebel, Hemlock, James, John B. Jenkins, Kristen Ledane, Matt Knows Nothing, Off the Porch D. What's up, brother? Panther Guy 73, Stephen Bailey, and Tar Heels 81. Tony Dunn, it's Tuesday night. Dan Morgan is rolling. Ain't nothing to it but to do it, baby. Let's roll.
Super Bowls are not won in March. Games are not won in May with a draft, right? You can crown a victor of free agency, but that doesn't mean things are going to be pleasant going forward. I don't think the measurement, though, of success has to entirely be on immediacy. CK, we are watching a new era of Carolina Panthers. We have been watching this closely, and over the last 2 days, we've been trying to get a feel of what the Carolina Panthers' intentions are, what they're going to do. And while you have seen the jettisoning of players that people somewhat cared about, we have seen, in my opinion, a certain vision coming to fruition. And the news, I'm surprised, is coming this quickly. For a team that had no cap money, I thought we would have to wait 2 weeks to be involved in free agency. The news keeps coming. CK, it's going to be powerful, tonight's discussion. It's going to be argumentative. We will not solve anything, and these pains will not be. This is not going to be an easy process. The question is, can you do it in a way that is right? We're going to try to figure it out. CK, ton of news that's come. We were here hanging out last night together. You were the first one here last night saying, let's go, let's go, let's go. And the news has not stopped coming since we were hanging out.
Yeah. No, it's been nonstop. Well, we felt like all the splash moves were done. We obviously had the big news that hit us just a couple of hours ago. And I think it shows exactly. And I think, Tony, I agree with you. I think the vision for what this team, what this free agency was intending, is clear at this point in time. And as of now, I said it yesterday, I think Dan Morgan is knocking this out of the park. I thought yesterday with the Brian Burns deal, he knocked it out of the park.
I agree.
I felt like today it just continued to knock it out of the park. Right now, we're getting younger on defense and we're getting experience on offense. And that seems to be the plan moving forward, is maybe we start looking at the draft. Hey, we might have another draft where it's all defensive players.
No way that's coming. But here we go, CK, is that I want to caution all Panther fans here first. There's no way to fan. You don't have to be excited. You can be pessimistic. There's plenty of reasons to be pessimistic about the future of the Carolina Panthers. But the question that we're trying to figure out is, what is the real direction that this team is trying to figure out? Right. And here is the thing, is that the Panthers had too many issues to address in a single day, in a single week, in a single season. You are not a 2-15 team who has been through 2 coaching staffs in 2 consecutive years, ultimately firing Matt Rule, moving to the Frank Reich era, and now a new coaching staff. And if you believe that those issues can be fixed in a magical wave of the wand, I find that to be a difficult thing to swallow, right? Is that if you are in debt, folks, if you are, hey, I'll raise my hand right here, right? If you don't climb out of financial issues in a week. You do not magically fix a marriage that has problems overnight. So if your litmus test for the Carolina Panthers is complete success in the first 2 days of free agency after being a 2-15 team, I feel like that bar is impossible to reach. The Carolina Panthers, though, What is the true litmus test? What is the stress test of the vision? And I think this is where maybe seeing something that is the right foundational piece. Sadly, I've said this in the past before, so I will not crown anyone. I will not crown Dan Morgan tonight. I will not crown this offense. I will not crown anything. The question, though, is why are we doing these things? What can they become? And is there a better alternative? There is not a better alternative than hanging out with Panther fans on Tuesday night on the C3 Panthers podcast, guys. Smash the thumbs up button. Get into the cat calls. The number is 252-228-5098. We want to hear your thoughts. Has Dan Morgan's initial foray into free agency been madness, or is it mindful? Are you excited about a Deontay Johnson? I hope I got his name right.
Yes, sir.
Are you excited about that type of addition? Did the Carolina Panthers get fleeced for Brian Burns? And I will tell you,
no.
You can exaggerate. The polarization of the world today via social media. And hey, I'm not fighting social media. I'm embracing it. I'm asking you to subscribe. I'm asking you to be a part of our lives. I'm asking you to hang out with us on the fucking internet. But the polarization of the internet is true. It's either a complete win or a complete failure. And today we're going to try to figure out if you can find incremental wins. And my question to a lot of people is, what would the alternative vision be if you approached this free agency? Cody Lack, we've got a lot to talk about. Let's go ahead and jump into the show. I'll give you the mic, and then we got to remind people FanDuel and sports betting is here, but I got to get my breath.
Yeah, well, let me jump in for you, because I think everyone that's complaining is just a bunch of fucking whiners that are bored as shit, dude. If I told you just a couple of days ago that the Carolina Panthers would be one of the most active teams out of the gate in free agency,
with no money,
with no money, you would have told me to shove off, dude. And more importantly, how could you just outright win free agency? Like, what does that even mean? And I don't understand how you can come any closer than what the Carolina Panthers have done over the course of 2 days. And of course, we're going to jump into all of it. We've gotten 2 brand new guards for our franchise quarterback. We just traded for a receiver. We just upgraded a big time defensive tackle in the middle of our defense. That's going to be a great pairing with Derek Brown. We just added another linebacker that has been in the Giro Avero's system before and frankly put up better numbers in some respects than Frankie Louvu. I don't know if you're complaining why you're even putting that negative energy out there, bro. I think there is nothing more that the Panthers could have done than what they're doing right now. I don't think that it's over. And if you don't think that this is enough, bro, it's never going to fucking be enough for you ever. That's what I think.
There's a fairness, though, in being a cautious, right? I think this is, as we have been burnt, shame on you. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. We have been overly optimistic about the future of the Panthers.
A lot.
Right. And about how everything is roses. But I think the one thing that I'm coming to recognize in the people is that where success, the measurement of success, is not immediate greatness. It's not immediate. Maybe this doesn't translate into wins, a ton of wins. Maybe this doesn't. What I'm saying is this: can you improve your credit score, your debt incrementally, right? You may not have wiped away your debt if you are like me, over finance, trying to work to pay a little bit. Can you find small wins walking in the right direction, or are you falling back into the pit? I understand Panther fans who are pessimistic, who do not. I'm not going to crown a single person today. But you know who I'm not going to crown?
I don't think anyone is.
I'm not going to crown a bunch of players either that you told me that we should pay, we should keep, that were just okay. So here is the vision correct? Is the methodology a good one? And I think today I've got a real explanation of what we're trying to figure out, what the ultimate stress test of the Carolina Panthers and Bryce Young in this offense going forward is. So we want to hear that for you. No one's going to tell you how to fan tonight. We're going to let all the opinions fly. But boy, the Carolina Panthers, the news, they've been in the national news. Brian Burns getting traded away. The players that you love Luvu, going away. Did we take it on the chin as Jeremy Chin is going to the Commanders? But then you add to the offensive trenches. And today, the question is that enough? Just getting Bryce Young protection. The Carolina Panthers jettisoned Dante Jackson, a controversial figure, and a player who I have been a fan of, someone who I've rooted for and understand the difficulties he's faced with injuries. I do think that he as a player has gotten better. But look, the Carolina Panthers added talent on the offensive side of the ball. People will say, hey, another fucking Pittsburgh Steeler receiver who is a head case. But today the Panthers traded Dante Jackson minutes ago, almost an hour ago, it felt like.
Yeah, literally an hour before we went live, this news breaks that we shipped out Dante Jackson for Deontay Johnson. And I've got to tell you, Dante, thank you for your time, brother. But don't let the door hit you in the big toe on the way out. Because I love this,
throbbing
man.
Big toe.
I love this, man, because Tony, we talked a little bit about how there were wide receivers that were kind of in our wheelhouse, right? Maybe some of the bigger names were a little bit out there, but there were receivers that were good for us, that were there for us. I think Deontay Johnson is one of those wide receivers, Tony. I think he's a young wide receiver. I think he's
final
fast.
Year of his rookie deal. And you don't have to pay him. Get this guy on a 1-year deal. But before we get into Deontay, I am overwhelmed by the support for the C3 Panthers podcast tonight. The super chats have come in. We would kind of casually ask for support. You can be a C3 super fan for $1.99.
We say we never ask, but it's always appreciated.
Look at this.
Helps us grow.
I'm not surprised by the generosity of Carolina Panther fans, but I do think tonight's generosity shows there is an underlying hope.
Oh, bro, I don't care what no one says. We have the best fans over here at C3, boy. Let's go. Let's do it, man. Shout out, number one, to Billy Hall. Opened the show with a $10 donation. We appreciate you, brother. Nirvash with $5 said I did not expect free agency to be this exciting. Tony, this is my point. No one expected the Panthers to be quite this active.
I thought we'd be talking about this 2 weeks from now. I thought we'd be getting the scrap.
Insane. And by the way, even Mike Kay was saying, hey, it might take a little while. Why aren't the Panthers doing anything? But that has not been the case. Kristen Ledane with $10 says, I got to ice myself up. I threw salt prematurely at Dan Morgan due to being upset over something out of his control, doing damage control, and working with little. Thanks to Scott Fitterer. It's all good, Chris, and happy you're feeling better. Nirvash with $10 says, y'all are going to be up till 3 a.m. fielding cat calls, aren't you? We might very well be doing that. I don't know how many we're at right now.
Look, that's a great comment, right?
That's perfect. And, dude, shout out to Josh Dyson. He's been in all the spaces. He has put C3 in his name on Twitter. Josh is the man with the $4.99 love bomb. Says what excites me more is this front office seems to have a plan and is executing that plan to a T.
Put the comment up. Put the comment up.
Oh, I thought I did. It didn't click.
Look at this.
Dan Morgan has impressed me so far. If we get the center in the draft to fortify the interior, we may be able to see if Bryce is the future. Fantastic comment. Man, that's what I think that we're doing, Tony.
Incredible
That's what
support.
I think we're doing.
Great
I think
comment.
this, so far, this free agency period is the Carolina Panthers telling you that they are going to do everything in their power to put weapons around Bryce Young to give the young man a fighting chance. I love this. I'm not as worried about the defense as everyone else. Real quick here, we'll go into some of the details of Deontay Johnson and what I think he brings to the offense. But before we go forward, Tony, why don't you talk about our sponsor for tonight?
No, you put me on the spot. Let's talk Deontay. I don't even have it pulled up.
Okay. Well, you're the one
pull the read up. I gotta pull the read up.
Okay. Well, you want to do it now, or you want to talk Deontay first?
Let's call Deontay up. Let's do this because here is the thing: is that is the Carolina Panthers, and this is where we're talking about. Is I don't like these casual terms of weapon. Right? We got to get weapons. We got to do this. Is ultimately the Panthers are a bad team with a ton of voids. Right? There are a ton of holes on both sides of this team, whether it comes to the offensive line, to the wide receiver core, to the defense, to the secondary, all of this. But there's a very limited amount of assets and a limited amount of money that you can actually put at play. The Carolina Panthers are not going to be able to wave a magic wand and all of a sudden get you to the point where you say, hey, we have a brand new coach who has never been a head coach. We have a quarterback who has had a terrible, what one person, and I don't know if this is true, but one it was like a Twitter person, and he clearly wasn't a Panthers fan. He said it was the worst rookie season since Vietnam. And I was like, Jesus Christ, how terrible of a, right? But there are so many issues on a team that's 2-15 that has gone through a owner who is fucking a wackadoo in so many ways, a coach that was, we didn't think it could get worse than Matt Rule, and it did. So there is no way that you are going to fix such a ball of shit overnight, right? But the question is, can you move in a real direction that can give you some information about the future, right? And so the Carolina Panthers, you can talk about them letting go of their players that we know, their best players supposedly. Those players were on a team that was terrible. This team is not going to win overnight in free agency. They are not a team that had bukus of money like the Washington Commanders, who had the most. One person I saw, and I don't know if this is true, the most free agency money in the history of football. There was limited assets. The question is, can you move this team in this time in a way that can give us a step forward, an incremental step forward? And I tell you this, is I am more hopeful. I will not crown anyone. I didn't think the vision was going to be this clear to me, which I think I have the answer to, nor, look, we're going to cut Dante Jackson. We're going to cut him. And now we added a receiver that actually is going to be playing, hopefully with some motivation, that wants to change it. Hopefully he wants to change his image as a diva typical Steelers receiver who doesn't try or whatever, who's trying to get it. But he's talented. I did not see this coming. I love this type of player. I love this type of player.
Yeah. And I think he has that type of energy that, we say diva wide receiver, but I feel like sometimes we just say that and put that on a guy who likes to win. And a guy who wants the ball in his hand.
There's plenty of examples where
he him.
refuses. No, there's pictures where he refuses to tackle. I have a question about this, and I'll put this to you like this: is how is it that the Pittsburgh Steelers always find these fucking mega talented wide receivers, and supposedly this incredible culture with Mike Tomlin, and then the wide receivers are always a fucking problem? I mean, you can go from Kenny, George Pickens. I mean, the list is long. How is their culture so great, but these guys are so terrible? And wouldn't you be mad if you're Deontay Johnson and you're playing with Kenny Pickett, a second-year player, and their offense was as bad as the Carolina Panthers? Poor guy got to come to the Carolina Panthers, sadly.
Well, hey, man, this is where he is now. If he wants to prove himself as one of the big
He
dogs,
has to.
he's going to be that guy for the Carolina Panthers. And look, I mean, I feel like we got him for a bag of chips. Like, let's be real.
We were going to cut Dante Jackson. He was going to be released.
As a fan base, fans don't give a shit about Dante anymore. It's been one of those issues where he's been injured year in and year out. We never get him for a full season. On top of that, we've always said that he's too small to be that outside corner that the Panthers wanted him to be. He was fast, but he wouldn't really mind his P's and Q's. He would get burnt a lot, and he just didn't have the physicality to compete at that position. The Panthers get Deontay Johnson and pick 240 in round 7 and resend to them Dante Jackson and pick 178. Tony, one of the reasons why I love this move for us specifically is what he's good at. If you look at his numbers and what he does versus man coverage versus zone coverage, his win rate is incredible. And like someone in the chat said, he had better PFF numbers last year than even someone like a T. Higgins. And I think this is the perfect separator that we need in this offense, and that is going to help Bryce Young see the field a little bit better. And that's evidenced by his route tree. I mean, look, my man is 100% on screens, and the Panthers love some screens, but look at all the other routes on the route tree that he excels at. Those slants across the middle that Bryce Young has always traditionally been so good at Alabama, those are going to be available for him. The out routes and the dig routes across the middle of the field, this is the type of receiver that is going to help Bryce in this offense tremendously.
Is the perfect receiver. I look at that dig route. One of the things that we can talk about with Bryce Young is his anticipation when a receiver was breaking out of their route was pretty on point. Like, he had that ball right there ready for him. And many times the receiver wasn't even ready for the ball, but the ball was where it needed to be. I think that seeing his biggest things, the curls, the digs, the slant being a little, but that screen, obviously that's an interesting one that, you're right. We're a pretty big, I think with us potentially being a run scheme type of offense, I think the screens are going to be important.
This is adding a player that has talent, regardless of your questions about how truly good he has been. Has he given his utmost? Is he going to play as hard as this? He is more physically talented than any player in the wide receiver group that the Carolina Panthers have. You did this. You acquired that not by paying money, but by trading away an asset that you were going to cut, period. Right? So the Carolina Panthers didn't have to go into free agency. They didn't have to go and spend money to add an asset. They were able to give a dying asset away for somebody, hopefully. Maybe he's not. He's not going to all of a sudden be the best receiver in the league. But this is a talent upgrade. And I tell you, what is an upgrade is living in North Carolina where sports betting is legal. North Carolina, legal sports betting is now officially live. To celebrate, FanDuel is giving new customers $250 in bonus bets for a limited time. Not only you get $250 in bonus bets, they have a ton of cool deals. Tonight, you could have bet on the Carolina Hurricanes to have a shot on goal. You had a free bet, or maybe not a free bet. You had a bet that seemingly could not lose. The best part is that you're going to get your rewards even if your first $5 bet loses. This offer can be claimed by clicking our link in the description. We'll put a QR code up later in the show.
I can put it up now.
Put it up. Put it up. If you go to FanDuel right now, new customers, $250 in bonus bets for a limited time. Look at that QR code. Registering with our link not only gets you these fantastic bonuses, but also directly supports the show. This offer is only around for a couple of weeks, so don't miss out. Remember to use the link bit.ly/C3250, bit.ly/C3250. Check that QR code out. The link is in the show description. This offer is only available to new customers who are 21 plus and physically present in North Carolina. Please remember to always gamble responsibly. If you have a gambling problem, call 877-718-5543. Check the episode description for the full term of the offer. And I tell you, if one thing I could bet on right now is I'm betting that the Panthers free agency was more exciting than I expected. They were able to add an offensive weapon without paying a ton. But guys, this is just the icing on the cake. The Panthers are not done. We'll return to this. This player, people are going to roast me for this. Who is the guy that won the Heisman that plays for the Eagles? Another Devontae
Smith.
Devontae Smith.
It kind of reminds me of that type of player.
A little shorter, yeah, but I see why you would say that. And a lighter too. I think he's like
not a guy that's
pounds.
just physically imposing entirely, but can be a playmaker. Look, I think this was a good move for the Carolina Panthers. One that I did not necessarily expect coming. I was excited more by how they were building through the offensive line, but that's not the only news we got. Look, Luvu's gone. Defensive players are leaving, but the Carolina Panthers said they did what they said. Dan Morgan said he didn't pull any punches. He said, we really want to upgrade the interior of this offensive line. Dave Canales came out and said, we want to run the ball stubbornly. His system works in a play action system. This is Bryce Young under center, run the ball up the gut behind some big ass motherfuckers and take shots down the field. The Carolina Panthers added some big ass mofos to this offensive line.
Yes, sir. I mean, Tony, listen, we did our live show last night, doing a reaction show, talking about Brian Burns out the door, talking about Frankie Luvu. And literally right after we did that, we got news that the Panthers made another signing in the form of Damian Lewis. He is now the new left guard for the Carolina Panthers. And Tony, listen, I already see people in the chat saying, oh, here goes Cody again, being optimistic. Look, I don't know what the future holds. And I think we can agree that nobody was really expecting much this season, right? But one of the things that we all pretty much unanimously agreed on is that we had to build an interior offensive line for Bryce if he was ever going to be successful. And damn it, if they didn't do just that. Keep your eyes on that mauler right, dude. He's the type of guy that gets upfield. He's aggressive. He can pull. Dude,
is that against the Panther?
Yeah, that's against the Panthers, dude. Just bullying us around, throwing
against
dudes
the
around.
top 5 defense.
Dude, he's aggressive at the point of attack. He makes those running lanes, and he's able to get to the outside. He knows where his running back is going. Dare I say, he might even be a part of a resurgence of Miles Sanders. Who knows, boys? I always said the running back goes as the offensive line goes. And look at my man putting dudes into the dirt. Like, just aggressive, man. I love this dude. I love his physicality. And I think that he really is just what the Panthers need at that left guard position. I love this move. And now it has me wondering, what is Brady Christensen's role on this team now? Because it appears as though he has officially been relegated to that swing tackle role. But I'm loving it. Boys, how do you feel about it?
Well, here's the thing is who knows if any of these guys will work out for the long term, right? There could be injuries, there could be issues, but there was an issue, and that is the Carolina Panthers interior was light in the fucking pants. They weren't mean. They weren't tough. And even Brady Christensen, who was arguably the C3 collective favorites offensive line for a while, at least for Cody and I can speak like that, is he's still kind of a finesse type player rather than just a straight beater up the middle. The Carolina Panthers had a tremendous weakness at guard. You cannot argue it. They started a combination of almost 19 different guards at left and right guard last year. It is a problem. To not address this, to bring in a Pat Elflein would be the problem. This is where the vision is. I don't know if these guys will continually work out, but this is the type of guy that you need to build that type of center, that center pocket that Cody has talked about being so important in this new NFL. And how many times did people reference what the New Orleans Saints needed to do when it came to Drew Brees in the past? And it started with this interior right here. You got two badass motherfuckers, and you can say this guy isn't the baddest, but Robert Hunt is the baddest mofo in the room. Right?
Yeah.
And this is what the Panthers needed. And there is a reason, folks, that you let Brian Burns go. I will stick around. I know the vision. I got the inside tip. And the inside tip comes with this mind. Dan Morgan has a plan. And you might not trust it, but it's real, folks. It might not yield immediate wins next year, but we will learn a lot about the future of the Carolina Panthers and the success of Bryce Young because of these moves.
Yeah, I like it, and it's a short deal. It's a 4-year, but
it's less than last year. Robert Hunt was $100 million, right? So this is like, okay, you're going to overpay a hair for anybody coming to Carolina. So you could be like, oh, somebody else paid less for a guard. Look, the Panthers need an offensive line. They went and addressed it immediately, and they didn't get Dollar Tree players.
No. CK, what do you feel about this, man? We just signed a left guard that's 327 pounds and a right guard that's 330 pounds. How are you feeling about it?
What is the one thing that every senior executive or scout or retired scouting or people who were on Drew Brees' scout team or anything like that, what is all of them said about having a shorter quarterback? You have
a strong interior.
You have to have not just a strong interior, an exceptionally strong interior. And to see them putting that as a priority tells me that they seem to know what they need to do to help Bryce feel more comfortable and be able to show what he is capable of doing in this league without getting destroyed at a ridiculous rate as he did last year. I think these are great signings. They're not, when you look at, let's talk about it, right? These signings for between the two of these equate to what we would have had to sign Burns for, right? So now we get two guards that are going to help our offense hopefully continue to progress in a positive way. But not only that, we've now got an additional early second round pick, which some might even equate to being a late first round pick, being the 39th pick. That's, a pretty good position to be in. Having two of the earliest picks in day 2 of the draft. A lot of people are disappointed with the compensation for Burns. I'll tell you what, if it was the difference between getting these two guys and getting rid of Burns and having that second round pick, I'm picking getting rid of Burns and having that second round pick all day, every day.
Absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head. The money that the Carolina Panthers were going to spend on Brian Burns instead got spent on protecting Bryce Young. That's why I was never going to be upset about losing Brian Burns. Like, this is where that money is going to. And I mean, I love it, man. Listen, we also wanted to add a little more context. Robert Hunt is the guy that we signed yesterday, and I think we need to talk about him in tandem with Damian Lewis because he is that mauler in the middle that we've been talking about. In fact, I see a lot of similarities between the play style of a Damian Lewis and of Robert Hunt. And I think you're all going to see what I'm talking about. A lot of comparisons that are made for Bryce involve Tua Tagovailoa. So why not get one of the guys that protected Tua and helped him to his best season ever in Robert Hunt? I mean, the dude is just a people mover. They have understanding of they have a physical awareness of where guys are lining up, where to place their hands. Just is a people mover. Always trying to get for pancakes out there. He's just aggressive, dude. Like, if we're going to be running the football, these are the guys that are going to make it possible. They're strong. They're aggressive. I think he only totaled for 4 sacks all of last year, which is a low number considering. And he's just a physical people mover. And I'm hoping that once we fix the center, we'll talk about that here in a minute. Whoever plays center, I hope that they're able to get on a wavelength with these two guys and really form that interior pocket that we've all been dreaming for. If Bryce is going to be successful this year, it's going to be because of these two offensive linemen that Dan Morgan signed. And I think that shows that Dave Canales understands how his offense is going to be successful and what it's going to take to do that.
I think if you want to, who cares? What is success, right? Is success wins? Or is it stats? For me, it's is learning more about what this team should do as they try to fix the sins of the past 6 years, right? And so to me, success is not in wins necessarily. Success, what I think, bringing these hog mollies in the middle, as Dave Gettleman would describe it, is going to give us a better bead, a better understanding of Bryce Young and the future of the Carolina Panthers. We're not going to hear, look, the Panthers invested a lot in Bryce Young. Whether you think he's the future, whether you don't, the Carolina Panthers need to figure it out. And they need to figure it out under healthy circumstances. Stick around. I'm going to tell you exactly what Dan Morgan's vision is of how he's going to try to figure out to build the Carolina Panthers in the future. We love your comments, though, your input on the show. Before we keep going, though, you got to remember, this is the longest running Panthers podcast. And what we are is not a listen to us podcast. Don't listen to me. I'm not going to tell you what to think. I want to have a conversation with you. I want to hear what you think. We want to have a discourse. We're riding in the car and we're riding in free agency right now. And we're trying to figure out if Dan Morgan is a CTE caveman or if there's a brilliant brain behind that caveman face back there. This maniac, this defensive maniac said he wants a defense that's feared, but then jettisoned the best players on that defense. Is he ruining the Carolina Panthers, or is there a mindfulness to his madness? The number is 252-228-5098. Cody, I want to hear what the fans have to say about some of this before we keep going.
That's right. Don't listen to us. Listen to us listening to you. 252-228-5098.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
Hey y'all, it's Anthony. Just wanted to give my thoughts because I got to talk about this. Wow, I can officially. I know this is a part 2. I hope you guys take this call because it broke after I called in first. But wow, Dan Morgan is officially a better GM than Scott Bitter. I mean, wow, this is awesome, man. I'm so happy. And you're talking about a team in 2 days that has built a way better offensive line, and we got a great young receiver who's played with nobody quarterbacks his whole career and still has gotten 1,000 yards before. Unbelievable. Deontay Johnson, I've always loved his game. We got him for fucking nothing, man. Nothing. We got him for a pick swap and a player that was going to be cut who's trash. Awesome move, man. Awesome. This gives us so much flexibility now because you can still gauge the T. Higgins market. Okay.
No, we're not in T. Higgins land, bro.
This changes nothing about our cap situation. It said on there that we still have the same. Us and the Steelers have the same amount of cap space still. It did nothing to that. He's on a 1-year, $18 million deal. Yes, he's getting paid $18 million a year because he's a pretty damn good receiver. He's top 10 in separation rate. He's up there on the charts with Mike Evans and Chris Olave. And then on top of that, you still got picks 33 and 39. You got tons of flexibility. Now you only need to draft probably one guy, maybe get a mid-tier guy in free agency. Like, this is great stuff, man. This is great stuff. They're setting Bryce Young up for success. I said this before. When our offense can click this year, we could put up points. The defense will be okay.
No,
I already talked
the
about
defense
the
is going to be bad, bro.
video,
Don't worry.
But man, this is awesome.
I don't know that, Tony.
It's going to be just as bad as it was
last year. I'm really
last year.
excited for Deontay too. He finally gets a shot, and when he was the wide receiver 1 in 2021 with washed up Ben Roethlisberger, he got 107 catches for 1,100 yards and like 8 touchdowns. That is awesome, dude. I think Bryce Young is a young guy who's going to be able to improvise like we see on the run. He's going to roll outside the pocket, and Deontay's going to be open downfield. Deontay's a guy that plays in the slot and plays outside. And on top of that, I've seen him cook our defense in person. I remember in 2022 with Steve Wilkes. I mean, he was just cooking our defense. I think he had 9 catches for 98 yards. Really exciting stuff. Let's go, Panther Nation. Keep motherfucking pounding, boys.
Well, part of the reason he was upset, right? And so people are going to look to him as being a malcontent in Pittsburgh. Let's remember what Pittsburgh went through. They fired their offensive coordinator mid-year. They have already moved on from Kenny Pickett. This is a player who has a confidence to him that thinks he should be getting the ball on every play. And the people that he couldn't get, there's a reason there was a malcontent. Now, is that the best situation for the Carolina Panthers? I don't know. I want to say this, though, is I feel like, look, again, I said I'm not going to crown anybody. I'm not going to crown a player. I'm not going to crown Dan Morgan. But I do feel like I've been amazingly sucky on this. So, folks, if you do not feel like this has been the right direction, I want to hear why. And I want to hear and I'm okay with those opinions. I'm not going to trash them. I'm ready to hear those opinions. What was the alternative direction that you wanted to see the Carolina Panthers address this shit pile of a team they have had right here? And to me, I was reserved, and now I'm excited. And my excitement does not come in an immediate success. This is why I've been happy about Dave Canales as a coach. I said, look, he doesn't come with the expectations of Ben Johnson. I'm not going to all of a sudden do what I did last year. It was like, oh, well, we're in a weak division. We can win it. To me, this is about moving incrementally forward in the right, healthy ways. Tell me why Dan Morgan, what he could have done alternatively, what he should have. We don't want this to just be a sucky session here, because games are not won in March. They're not won in March, right? The question is, do you approach free agency in the offseason in a way that positions you for the draft and then positions you to continue to build? The number's 252-228-5098. We'll take more calls now.
C3 family. A beautiful day out in Idaho.
Oh, sucky.
I am calling in. I am so excited that we finally have a direction. We finally have some onions in that front office. I've been worried to death that this team is going to be 4 years down the road, but no, I am happy. We are committed to a rebuild. Or a build, Tony, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank
We're
you.
getting rid of players.
We did fine.
Yeah, you hate to see Luvu go. You hate to see, that safety tandem be broke up. Burns, you got a second round pick. Whoop-de-doo. Man, we got a direction now, though. Finally got some veteran guards in there. Elf line. We can see what he's made of. we've got some chance. I'm hoping we keep just selling the farm, getting rid of stuff, and building for 2025, 2026.
2026 is when we're
competing. We needed to rip the Band-Aid off. We've been head in the sand for so many years of, we don't need to rebuild. We don't need to rebuild. And we get smoke blown up our backside. And
yep,
I'm happy. I knew this year was going to be a shitty year for the Panthers. I'd rather have direction and momentum going forward for 2-3 years down the line. Hope you guys have a wonderful March. I will talk to you a few weeks. Take care, guys. Keep
that's
pounding.
The point is that if you want to win a NFC South championship in March, you're in the wrong place. And that has been the problem for the Carolina Panthers. We've continued to try to tell ourselves in a weak division that we can do some different things, that our defense was top 5. Bullshit. Was not top 5. It wasn't even top 15, man. I'm at the point where I don't even think it was good. Right? At the end of the day, the Carolina Panthers have to do this in a way that's realistic. And right now, I think there is a real method to the madness here. We'll take another call, and then we'll talk about some of the issues facing the defense, because the concerns out there are valid. It's like, who the hell is on this defense? Who the hell are these players? What will happen? You are hearing some rumors of getting some one-year warriors, which I think is actually the right move to do.
I do too.
It's like,
and
look,
I think that
just make through this season.
But Tony, it's like, you know how I've been saying, okay, if we're not expecting a lot from this team next year, then let's at least score touchdowns, right? But when you think about this defensive line and some of the things that we've done, and we've gotten rid of a lot of defensive players, and we're going to talk more about that. But we were the last in total sacks last year. We were the bottom of the barrel. It's
we were
hard
the bottom
to
of everything, bro. Pick a team, pick a side of the ball. Everything about a 2-15 team is terrible.
But I think that this pass rush, I don't think it's crazy to say that it could potentially be better than it was last year if you signed the right free agents, which we're not done yet. I know.
Let's not even go to better, Cody. Is how about people are acting like what the fuck are you gonna do? You know what? I can replicate shit. At the very worst, we can replicate the shitty ass fucking defense we had last year.
So I don't like how people are just kind of resigning themselves to the fact that the defense is going to be terrible. One, we're not done.
It was terrible last year, Cody. It was terrible.
The draft is not over. 3, the bar for what we did last year was bottom of the barrel, and we were already rumored to be bringing in some guys that might help out with that. But before we go all the way to the defense, I wanted to kind of wrap up and put a bow on the O-line conversation, get CK back in here, and I also wanted to bring up our boy G-Baby, because I'm going to be honest, Tony, I haven't seen our boy this happy in a very long time, man.
He says, I genuinely, Bryce Young.
Bro, G says, I genuinely believe we have something very special. The truth. Now we're getting some aliens around him. And as of right now, this is what the theoretical offensive line for the Carolina Panthers is. It is Ikem Ekwonu at left tackle, Damian Lewis at left guard. We'll save center for last. Robert Hunt at right guard, and Taylor Moton at right tackle. Now
still a restructure potentially in the works for Taylor Moton. Think about that.
True, which is I'm glad you brought that up. However, now people are starting to wonder, because it has been talked about before, about Austin Corbett's ability to play center. Some people are predicting that this is what we're going to do. Some people think that we might try and draft a center with one of those 2 second-round picks, premium second-round picks of 33 and is it 39 or 37? We picked
33 and 39, I think. But you can get a center in the 3rd round. You don't even have to use a second rounder necessarily. The question is, do you want that center to start? Keep going. I want CK's opinion on Austin Corbett specifically.
What y'all think about Corbett playing center?
All right, I'm going to ask you this, CK, is, look, one of the things that I've had a problem with the Carolina Panthers in the past is putting out a paper plan. and the paper plan works, right? It's like, oh, we're going to add these two big motherfuckers on the guards. We're going to do this. And then we're going to move Austin Corbett to center. We let go of Bradley Bozeman. Didn't save much money either by letting go of Bradley Bozeman. You could have kept him around. The question is not only does this player have to transition from being a lifelong guard, I believe, right? As far as I know, he played guard with the Rams before he came here. 2 consecutive years coming off a major injury. Are the Carolina Panthers maybe hoping too much in Austin Corbett in this? How do you feel about this makeup and the direction and potentially what they can do to continue to add depth at this position?
First, I think it's important we realize Bozeman has not been cut yet. First and foremost.
Okay.
So
I just assumed he was.
They're saying by March 16th, he probably will.
Okay.
Well, it would be a post June 1st, I think is what it would be. So it would have to, he wouldn't officially be cut until after June.
But they get the time with other teams before then, right?
I'm not entirely sure how the nuance of that stuff works. But
all right, but it's not official. So, okay.
It's not official. So, and here's the thing. Austin Corbett could be fine at that position. I don't think that they're going to move forward. Just hoping that that's going to work, right? I think that Austin Corbett would be plan A if they do end up cutting Bozeman, with the plan B being him fighting for that starting position with a rookie that we potentially draft, this year. But I mean, again, I go back to Bozeman. A lot of people hate on Bozeman. I've said it from the beginning. I said it with Paradis and all the, when you don't have supporting pieces on your left and right, it is next to impossible to play that position well.
And there's questions about Icky and how much that results, and for that, this. Well, the offensive line is a unit,
right,
that does take a certain, continuity to it, right? You don't always have to have the best players, but look, the best Panthers offensive line that we have ever seen, strangely,
right,
or at least that we have seen in the last 12 years,
right,
was the 2015 line. And they weren't great, right? You had Mike Remmers who hits a wall in week 14 or week 12 of every year and becomes terrible. But the thing about the 2015 offensive line is that they were healthy all year. It's not that they were the best, right? So there is a continuity to that unit that's important. It's not always having the best player. You could have the best player, but if you're cycling in, we saw the difficulties of that. The chat, though, has informed me that Austin Corbett has played some center a little bit.
Yes, he did.
Fine, good. Again, not educating you guys, asking you. For me, CK, I think this is fine. I like a lot of it, but does the Austin Corbett 2 consecutive knee injuries?
Yeah, I mean,
maybe you draft a center and say study behind Corbett.
Yeah,
right.
Listen,
you don't draft a center to say you need to start from day one. But you draft a center in the 3rd round, you put him behind Corbett, and if he gets hurt, you can put him in.
Yeah, I think this is all the definition of having depth on the offensive line. Every single player that we have on that line, as of now, with potentially Brady Christensen, Austin Corbett, right now, people are saying we've made the decision on Bozeman. There is nothing official. It
does
nothing,
seem like the writing's on the wall, though. It feels like,
and it may be, but it also could be a bait and switch, right? Who knows? But
or a trade and switch.
Yeah, exactly. And so we run. There's a chance he's still here, and if he's still here, I don't think that's a bad thing for this team. The amount of money we save by cutting him is inconsequential to what we do moving forward.
And would you rather just trade him for a 6 than nothing?
Right. And so that's exactly what I agree. I mean, would you rather just let him go and take a little bit of savings? It's, like I said, minimal in comparison to what we're going to be dealing with, having an empty center, position to be filled, with the potential of Austin Corbett coming off of 2 season-ending knee injuries, Brady Christensen coming off of 2 season-ending injuries. Granted, one was on the last game of the year. 2 years ago, but
and the other one was in the first game of the year.
Right, exactly. So I mean, you can't. I mean, this all these moves are logical given what we've dealt with on the injuries front. But again, it does feel like
Bradley Bozeman's on the way out. The question is, and they have released players, Hayden Hurst, some other players too, where the money doesn't tremendously help you this year, maybe adds a little help next year if you really delve deep. But like, can you acquire a couple of assets, meaningless assets? Can you get the irrelevant pick of the draft for a guy that you're going to cut maybe? So this is the question mark. Is Austin Corbett there? How is he going to do at center? But I also don't think it makes you have to draft a center in the second round.
Right. I disagree.
Yeah, I think it opens up that possibility.
Well, you could, but you wait till the third. You would, if you didn't have a center, you got to go 33 and get a center.
Well, right, but see, this is why I like the fact that we're moving on from from older players, from a bygone era. And I also want to give some credit to Dave Canales, because in his interview at the Combine, he said, "Look, I'm the new guy here. I don't have the connection to a lot of these guys that other coaches in the past might have, and even though that might sound cold, it's a business, and I think that is for the better. Considering, I feel like I've said for a while, Tony, that some things you just have to rip off the Band-Aid, and I feel like we ripped off a couple Band-Aids. Brian Burns, for example, God, we've been tearing at that one forever. Oh, wow. He's finally out the door. Dante Jackson is another one where we've just been like, bro, what are you going to be in this, in this defense? Are you an actual shutdown corner? And then also,
he's 3 gems in the past, basically.
Absolutely. So I think that Dave had the right of it by saying, look, we're not going to stick to things if they're not working, if they're broken. And at the same time, you're letting these guys go to potentially greener pastures and kind of letting them find what else works for them. And I think this is the right moment to bring this up. But we also found out today that Frankie Louvu is not the only player going to the Washington Commanders.
And Ron Rivera is not the coach anymore either.
I know. So Jeremy Chan, who a lot of people loved for a long time, he never found a true position. Sometimes it was a safety. Sometimes it was a linebacker. Sometimes it was both. Sometimes it was
disliked by
and then sometimes, he was on the bench, completely not around doing anything. So I like the fact
he got a 1-year deal, folks. This guy didn't go and sign let's say something about that.
It's a prove it deal. It's 100% a prove it deal. But I think that we need to give some credit not just to Dan Morgan, but to Dave Canales, who I think is probably informing some of these decisions as well.
Or maybe Evero. I think this actually may be more of an Evero decision than we want to give credit to. Is like, while we're waiting in the wings on some of this, is I think Dave Canales is walking in here with being Mr. Super Optimistic, happy, what I call him, happy, smiley guy. But this is Dan Morgan's squad to build. And he has also outsourced the defense to Evero. And Evero, you can say this, is you could say we jettisoned some of the best players or our best players. But if Evero felt the need to bang the table for 1-year deal, Jeremy Chin, he could have, but he didn't. He reduced his snaps over and over. And he went with a guy he was familiar with in Troy Hill. I always get his name wrong, from the Rams. He also signed Ashawn Robinson. I think sir. Today.
This is a big need in the trenches on defense. And what did Dave Gettleman once say? Big men win football games.
Do you remember?
He is a big man at 324 pounds.
Do you remember when we had Mike Kay on to start last season? And who was the guy? Who was the nose tackle that we let go? Who was pretty good. God, what was it? He was super fat. He was super big, and he played well.
Beyond Roy?
No, not him. Another one.
Oh, you mean the...
And he liked him in the system. He goes, this is your true nose. Right? And then all of a sudden...
Or Dontari Poe?
No. Later. He was... Yes, McCall.
Marquand McCall.
He was closer to a true zero technique than what we had. You're going to a 3-4. You need a big fat boy in the middle over the center, right? And it felt like this guy, out of all the people on the roster, had the attributes and actually had a decent season the year before as a nobody. And all of a sudden you saw he just disappeared. He disappeared in training camp. The Panthers released him. And Mike Kay was surprised by it because he said he fit the scheme. He fit the scheme. I think Ejiro's fingerprints are on this defense more than people want to give credit for. You want to talk about them? Like, look, this guy didn't want McCall somehow. He didn't want Jeremy Chin. He wanted Troy Hill. He got Ashawn Robinson, a guy he's familiar with, and that's not the only guy he's familiar with. The Carolina Panthers also brought in a linebacker today. I think that Dave Canales has said this: Dan Morgan and Evero, you take care of the defense, bro. I'm on here on this offensive side. I think that the decision making to the defense has zero to do with Dave Canales.
Well, listen, I want to talk a little bit about Ashawn Robinson because you made the point the other day, Tony, that now Derek Brown, they have him as more of an edge in a 3-4.
Right.
So he's not necessarily going to be that guy in the middle. And if you remember 2 years ago, we had broke news with some insider information that we were blessed with that Derek Brown at one point in time even dropped weight to try and go to more of a 3 technique and a 4-3 to be more of a pass rusher. I wonder if this even further opens up opportunities for him to do so. And listen, Tony, part of the reasons why we say our defense was so vastly overrated last year is because teams were running the ball so effectively. They were running the ball so effectively that they didn't need to pass the ball. So, of course, all the other teams' passing stats against our defense didn't look great. This is an immediate move to remedy that and really stop the run and be physical in the middle of our defense.
How is he going to play? Is he going to play? Where is he going to play, do you think, in relationship to Derek Brown? Is Derek Brown going to play over the nose or is Robinson?
Well, I mean, they have him lined up as a 5 tech right there.
Okay.
Which is what we're
This is back with the Giants, though. This is how many teams ago? Was this his last team?
I'm even thinking, so this is last year. I'm thinking that we'll probably have Brown on one side and then Robinson on the other side. And look how this man has a nose for the run play and where the ball is going. He just has a nose for the ball, is able to push people out of the way, keep that gap integrity, and just stop anything from coming through. Man, I love his tenacity and his nose for the ball. Even
he
when
played with the Rams, though, too, when Evero was there.
Right.
So you got to look at this. The fingerprints of some of these players go back to Ejiro Evero's history, whether it be Troy Hill that we signed to another 1-year deal to play nickel corner, Ashawn Robinson, who played with the Rams at some point, I'm pretty sure, and then the linebacker they signed, the Jewel. All these guys, this isn't Evero. Look, you might have jettisoned all these players and said, Evero, we're sorry, we got to get rid of some of these stars, but we're going to give you carte blanche to go and get the guys that you trust. That's what I feel like we're getting here. And Cody, back and CK, I want to bring up one stat about the Fool's Goal. We need to go back to some calls and different things. I was looking back at some stats and I was trying to figure out, maybe, am I wrong? Right? I'm trying to be better at, I read this book recently. It's called Think Again. It's about changing ideas with new data, right? Like when you encounter new information, do you dig in and keep your same ideas, or are you flexible in changing your ideas? So I was trying to go back and maybe I was like, am I wrong completely? Maybe I was looking for stats that verified my position.
Yeah.
But there were a couple of games that stuck out to me. One was this, the Jacksonville Jaguars, we played a backup quarterback CJ Beathard. We're not even talking about an experienced guy. We're talking about a guy that's a nobody. He is a 70% passer against the Carolina Panthers. 70% completion rate. But you had this. You had one job in this game, and that was you knew you were playing a backup quarterback. You have to stop Travis Etienne. That's what you have to do. This guy had 16 carries for 102 yards and 2 touchdowns. Then I looked at another game, CK, and I knew immediately when I was like, oh, shit, people are going to say, oh, the Green Bay Packers, playoff team, fucking incredible, this and that. It was the best offensive game the Panthers had all season. Put up 30 points, right? Bryce Young had 348 yards passing. You know what I'm saying? It was like the first game you're like this. We put up 30 points. We lost by 33. We gave up 33 points. Here's the problem. Aaron Jones, again, fucking 140 or something yards, 20, you know what I'm saying? And multiple touchdowns. The Panthers could not, when they needed to, stop. You could say the offense didn't do shit, but they didn't stop these guys when they needed to.
Yeah.
At any moment. And to me, that's why I'm not clinging on to any of this defense.
No, I mean, we've been saying it for really 2 years. I mean, I think the Carolina Panthers and we as fans have always known the Panthers to have a great defense. Historically, that's all we've ever had. And I think that when we see these numbers, and it's something that I like, even Sheena Quick was on Pat McAfee today.
Oh, I'm so mad about it.
I know. I'm sitting here and she was just talking about how Panthers fans are upset and they're mad because this was the number 4 ranked defense in the league. And I said, and I'm just sitting here like, number 4 by what metric? If you're talking about yards, okay, let's be real about something. We were last in sacks. We were last in turnovers. And yes, there's some nuance to this. I'm going to be admitting that there is nuance.
Get it on a short field, right?
Right.
Last in red zone.
But guess what, Tony? There's nuance to being the number 1 yards team in the NFL or number 4 in the league for defense as well. So these are all misleading in a lot of ways. But here is what I'm going to be here to ask you. If you are a defensive-minded head coach and you're looking at all of these defensive coordinators and you're like, you know what? I'm going to pick who is the most relevant, like who has got the best defense. Do you think he's looking at the Panthers with the best yardage, like fourth best yardage in the league? Or you think he's looking at these other teams that had the incredible number of sacks, who had an incredible number of turnovers, who were getting tackles for losses, who were putting themselves in the best possible position, and they weren't like one of the last ones when it comes to scoring defenses? Do you think it was one of them, or do you think they're thinking, oh, we really need to go after the Panthers? It's not. And here's the other piece to this. The Brian Burns situation. We were last in sacks in the league, like last. Again, there's nuance to this, but we were last in sacks with Brian Burns on this team. You can argue about whether he had help or he didn't have help. When we did have help with Hassan Reddick, he actually had worse stats than some of his best years without Hassan Reddick. So you can't even really logically use that argument, because even when you do, it doesn't just out to the actual facts in the entire situation.
Before we go to the cat calls again, Tony, like I think that we just need to be honest with this. I feel like Sheena had a dog in this fight when it came to Brian Burns. Like, if you listen to any of the spaces, it really sounded like her, and to a lesser degree Vashti, were basically like, hey, you need to pay Brian Burns. What are you going to do without Brian Burns? The Panthers have done wrong by him. And maybe if you talk about, you know, in the context of us turning down the Rams, which I know you believe is a lot of conjecture, but most people
I just
believe
feel like
it.
We don't need to talk about that anymore at this point.
Okay, you might feel that way, but a lot of fans, I think, from what I've been engaging on Twitter, because I've been also kind of confused by this, I think it's generally positive, but I feel like people are looking at, well, we had 2 first-round picks from the Rams, and we decided to not do that. We decided to push that away. And, you know, the Chicago Bears, they wanted Brian Burns first before they wanted DJ Moore.
Fine.
And instead we said, no, that's a bridge too far. Send DJ Moore. So then now we're at this point where we only received a second round pick and a 5th round pick for Brian Burns, and they want to call that fleecing. Well, if you look at it that way, fine. But Dan Morgan also wasn't the general manager.
Pull up the Sheena quote real quick. Not the quote as we're talking about, because we got to get into it. And Cody, I'm sorry, I do overtalk too much.
No, you're good.
I just want to mention this is like there is, and I'll let you continue on this. There's a world where those were mistakes, right? Like it's a mistake to turn. Like we look back, we should have done that. There's a world where you can say we should have used Brian Burns instead of DJ Moore. But that doesn't mean this decision is bad, right? Like those can be mistakes. But that doesn't mean because you made these past 2 mistakes that you have to what is it, CK? The sunk cost or whatever?
Right.
But yeah, it's like, is this, those can be mistakes. And I'll be willing to say that. It's like, you know what? Anytime I feel like if you call the Carolina Panthers up and anytime you call up and you say, I want this player, I'll give you 2 first-round picks. Right now, if I answered the phone and I said, is it Bryce Young? And they said no, I would just say, okay. I don't give a fuck who it is. Right. But you made those mistakes in the past. That doesn't mean that this is a mistake now.
Right.
So go on and tell this. And because, look, I want to preface this with, first, I have a lot of respect for Sheena Quick. And when I say respect is I'm not a sucky person like a lot of these people are that just are drooling over her at all the time.
You're not a simp. A simp.
Right. I'm not a simp when it comes to her. But what I do respect is somebody who made their game through independent media, right? Like who's gone for somebody. If you would have asked somebody who worked for a traditional news outlet 10 years ago what they thought about Sheena Quick, they would have probably classified her like us, right? And this woman, through her own initiative, through her own tenacity, has and really through great work, great work, has moved up and created her own following and is on the Pat McAfee show, right? But I would. And I'll tell her to her face right now this. I think you're better than this, Sheena. I think you're better than going on Pat McAfee. And maybe that's what you need to do at this point to pivot your career to the big media stage. But I don't think this is a good soundbite. I don't think it's the real narrative.
I don't think so either. And also, let's be real. She is, whenever she does the spaces, and she's like, talking with people on Twitter. Everyone knows that there is a large contingent of Twitter that would hang on the balls of Brian Burns and his brother, Hype Man Lucci. And it was like a popularity thing. Got to pay Burns. And it's also popular to shit on the Panthers. And look at these inept clowns not paying Brian Burns his money. And I think all of that kind of spilled over onto her, too. I feel like Sheena has become so popular.
She was friends with Brian Burns.
Oh, but also,
I think that Brian Burns was nice. I think they're friends.
It was nice to her, but I also believe that Sheena has, now this is on the Pat McAfee show, she has a very large profile. I feel like to a certain degree, she kind of feels like the voice of Panther Nation to a larger audience that might not be keyed in on Panther stuff. And since she's on Twitter a lot, and she kind of has her finger on the pulse, she might feel vindicated to say some of these things. But I do agree that it was in large part her over speaking, talking about how it might be rough this year. Yeah, it is. And it's been rough every year.
What I'll bring on Monty and her right now. And not because I want to be upset, but look, this is what I would say is that I think it's easy. The easy thing to say is, oh, you got rid of your best player. You fucking won't pay anybody. You won't do this. How are you going to get better? I think that's an easy, simplistic narrative of what's going on. And I would argue to her, if and Pat McAfee doesn't know what's going on right now, but I would argue to the other person is like, if you're the other team, do you think you should give more for Brian Burns and more money? So if you want to talk about getting fleeced, maybe the only reason you're going to say getting fleeced is because you have this idea in the past that you could have gotten 2 firsts.
Yeah.
But if I was on a team and we gave 2 firsts for Brian Burns and paid him $150 million, I would my head would explode.
You would be livid. You would be fucking livid. And anyone with half a brain at this point, listen,
It's
and I put this, I put this on Twitter. I put this on Twitter, Tony, and you reposted it. Like, if you're mad about what we didn't do with Brian Burns in the past in terms of trading him, fine, be mad. But like, to say that we had to either pay him $30+ million or get a first round pick from another team, you're not living in the real world.
Right,
that was never going to happen. No team was going to pay him that dollar amount and give up a first round pick. Like, come on. At a certain point,
I would.
You have to be more realistic and put your fandom away and talk about what would actually be able to happen. If you consider those contexts, this is not a bad deal for Brian Burns.
And can I do this? A couple of things. Number one, yes, she is in this business to make money, right? That's the case. That's
or
what
grow
a lot
her
of people,
audience right now is making money for her, right?
Exactly. This is a business for her, right? And so here's the pieces of this. She has always been a defender of Brian Burns. So number one, I believe she thinks and she believes what she's saying, right? And honestly, the things she said are not fake. They're not false, right? There are a contingent of Panther fans who believe we got fleeced, right? What she said, we were the number 4 defense by certain metrics in the league. They're not wrong. They're misleading. And the thing that makes like, the reason that I didn't like the interview is because it made the Panthers fans like us who believed this move was a proper move and it was actually the best thing you were going to get. Mm-hmm. You're putting a light on Dan Morgan right now like he is a bad GM on a national stage like that. You can't do that. You're setting this guy up for scrutiny beyond you don't have that same scrutiny in a lot of other places. Howie Roseman doesn't have that same scrutiny because you believe he's the best. If he did this exact same thing, you'd be like, we got to trust the process, right? Dan Morgan deserves
Colin
that
Cowherd take.
Right.
I mean, this is a Colin Cowherd take. It's just too easy peasy to say fleeced.
Right.
Panther fans feel this way. Look, there was a lot of animosity, and you are right, CK. You brought up so many good points. There are a ton of Panther fans that thought it was terrible to do this. But I really feel like she injected a emotional component to this.
I mean, I think
or bias. How about that? There was a opportunity bias here.
Tony, I was in her spaces when it first happened, and I agree. I mean, you could tell when people would start to say things, like normally she'd just let them talk, and like her and Vashti were both interrupting and getting emotionally in charge with no, and a lot of the points they were making were something I agree with, right? Like he didn't have as many pass rush opportunities because we were they were making those points, but it was clear that there was a heated aspect to it.
An agenda.
Right. And I'm not saying,
the first
and I want to make this clear. I want to make this clear because I think it's important. I don't think it is fair to Sheena to say that the reason that she feels this way is because she has some sort of relationship with Brian Burns.
Right.
It's disrespectful in my opinion. And don't take
How about a bias though? Could you say bias, not a relationship?
Right. Well, the problem I have, and this is the thing, and I get why people say this. I really do. But I also think we need to understand the world we live in now. This is it's a bit of a disrespectful take to say that she's with Brian Burns physically or anything like that, right? That is disrespectful. She's earned more than that conjecture at this point in time. Whatever her personal life is, her personal
take
life.
Too, right? That's a sexist take. So it goes like this: is your opinion, and the reason you have this opinion is based because of some sexual component,
right?
I don't mean that, and I hope, and I really, I may have.
You didn't.
I hope I didn't misspoke, but I would say this though, is when I say look, if you're look, how about this? Baby Bird, Tamir Bird, one of my favorite Panthers of all times, right? And Cody fucking makes so much fun of me. You know why I love? One of the reasons I love Tamir Bird is he came on this podcast twice. He came up. You're right. So I mean, he was a friend, not a friend. I mean, it wasn't even was that nice. He doesn't even respond to my tweets every time. I'm his biggest fucking fan in the history of the world. Tony Dunn. There is not a bigger Demir Bird fan in the world than this dude right here. So I understand too, as someone, if you are specifically an independent media person and someone kind of gives you not the inside scoop, but is friend, like you don't want to do them wrong. Right, is because they have also done you right in a way through courtesy. I do think there's a bias though, because they're in here, and I'm sure if she was here, I would be more cautious in saying some of these things. And I hope the first time we ever heard Sheena Quick say "you don't know ball" was about Brian Burns.
But you see how the internet.
She told somebody they don't know, and that is, I usually feel like people talk so much shit to her, and she's so good about not
engaging. Yeah,
right.
Taking the bait in that way.
To me, I felt like this. I was like, really? And to me, that just shows a bias.
Well, I think the other part of this, and if you want to be, play devil's advocate there, I think Sheena has probably heard a lot of the same things we hear in the chat tonight. In certain DM groups that we might be in, of their relationship with one another and all that stuff. So, I mean, I think that it's only a matter of time, and so many times you can have those types of comments before you do start to get emotionally charged. Sure. You have in her being a female in this space, how many times has she been told you don't know ball?
Totally.
Right?
And I think that's fair. I think this with the McAfee, and you're the McAfee expert out of all of us. You've watched more Pat Mc. There is an look, you have 30 seconds or whatever. You have 45 seconds, and it's helped her brand a lot to go on there, right?
Yeah.
You need to be succinct. You need to be engaging. I don't know if it was a terrible thing for her to say about this, is right. Like nothing you said was false about this. I just think at the end is like, really, I think the nuance to this is truly, what should you have gotten more? I want you guys to hang around, because I think I've learned why we have jettisoned these players, particularly Brian Burns, and what we've done. I have delved into the mind of Dan Morgan. We're going to take another call. We're going to come back at 252-228-5098. It's 10:30. A lot of news still to go. But I think I know why Dan Morgan has been making these moves. And it doesn't have to be that Brian Burns doesn't deserve the money. It doesn't have to be that Brian Burns isn't a good player. It might have to do with what the Panthers need to learn in the next 18 months about Bryce Young, and what they don't need to paper mache together on the defense. Let's take another call and we'll get into that. Stick around, folks. I know what the plan is. And that's my hot take.
Hey, guys. It's the girl that makes them howl, a.k.a. Joey the Blind Panther, calling to talk about these Carolina Panthers. These Carolina Panthers have done more in free agency than they've done on the field in the past 5 years. Okay? In 2 days, Dan Morgan has done more than the Panthers have done on the field for 5 years. Okay? We're moving around. We're getting rid of players that are on their way out, like Brian Burns and those type of guys. And we're getting players that, fit our system better, because Dan Morgan actually has, a brain inside that head of his and some balls to pull it off. Scott Fitter, he had no balls. He might have been smart, but he had no balls, so we couldn't really see what he was capable of. But Dan Morgan is doing what he needs to be doing right now. Okay? Now, that being said, we are having a very successful free agency. We're doing great right now. But a successful free agency does not mean a successful season. Okay? We thought last year we hired the best coaching staff ever, and the league was fools for sleeping on these people, and we found out why the rest of the league was sleeping on them. I don't think we're going to do that this year because I don't think we want to get burned again. I mean, that hurt. We're still cooling off after that shit. But, you know, and you want to talk about the coaches. Okay, I'm optimistic because look what Baker Mayfield got. When he went to Tampa last year, they signed him for 1 year, $3 million. Okay? Now after a season with Dave Canales, now after a playoff win, Tampa Bay signed him to $100 million. Okay, and I'm not saying that happened just because of Baker Mayfield. There may be some things going on with Tampa Bay that they're not really sure of some things at quarterback right now. But that would not have happened without Dave Canales, guys. I think that's more a reflection on Dave Canales than Baker Mayfield because Baker Mayfield is a sponge. Okay, he is what you make. He's only as good. You know what? He's like a white cane. He's only as good as the user. If you suck at using your cane, you're gonna bump into a lot of shit. But if you're good at it, you're not gonna bump into a lot of shit. Okay. So that being said, guys, shut up with the negative energy. Be optimistic.
Oh, he didn't get the growl in. Wait, hold on. He comes back. We got to give him Wakanda forever.
Hey, guys, growl and make some howl, a.k.a. Joey the Blind Panther again for a quick part 2 here. So, Baker Mayfield wouldn't be getting $100 million without Dave Canales. And basically what I'm trying to tell y'all is this. Number one, fuck off with the negative energy. We've had enough negative shit in the past year. You know, we don't need no more. But there is a lot to be optimistic about. And I know we said that last year and got burned, but whatever. Okay. Dave Canales did improve Baker Mayfield to the point where he's getting $100 million. And we all know why he only got $3 million, the year before. We all know that. So I think we're doing the right things in free agency. I think we've got a good coach. We just have to put it together on the field, guys. That's all we have to do.
We got a lot more to do than
the part
that.
that sucks is we won't know how good that's going to work until September. Anyway, guys. Wow.
Yeah, that's my growl. I like it. I like what he says, too. We got to do it on the field. I've been saying for the past 2 seasons in a row, it's prove it season.
Yeah.
Yes. Am I excited about what Dan Morgan did? Yes. And I started the show saying I feel a little bit vindicated because I've been a believer in Dan. However, it's not done yet. We have to see these guys actually pan out, especially considering we were excited about Miles Sanders last year and Hayden Hurst and, DJ Chark. And these guys turned out to be a lot of us were optimistic, Tony. And whatever. You can do the revisionist history if you want. A lot of people were very optimistic. So I understand people wanting to reserve themselves and wait and see what happens. But I do think that we are moving in the right direction. And I think especially with how tenacious we've been and like how we've attacked this free agency in a way that Panther fans didn't expect us to. Yeah, I believe it's a job worth commending.
It doesn't feel haphazard, but I'm going to break down to you the vision that I think I have uncovered for Dan Morgan, and way smarter and more with more foresight than I expected in some ways. Again, I'm not ready to crown this coach. I'm not ready to say Dave Canales is a good head coach. I don't know anything about him yet. But before I get into that, the support for the show has been tremendous tonight when it comes to the conversation, the calls, the thumbs up. CK, there have been some people, and we just got another one. We just got another super chat. I feel like the super chats tonight need to be read by CK, these 3. We made them wait. I feel like we should give them the golden pipes here.
4 now. 4.
Okay, we got you. Kristen Ledane sent $5. She said NFL stands for not for long, unfortunately. Sometimes, but we are rebuilding the right way. # keep pounding. Thank you for the support there, Kristen.
Yes, sir.
And sorry for the delay on that. That was sent like an hour ago. So, and then Charlotte Sports 1. sent a $5 love bomb to C3 family. These decisions making me want to get the Legion together for a game next season. All of us in the same section. Let's go make it happen.
Ooh, great idea.
We are Legion. That's the new thing now. C3 Legion, baby. We are Legion.
Change it every week. It's the Army. It's the Mafia. There's Mafia and Army and Legion.
But
anyway,
we got it all.
I love all of it.
We got it all.
We got
I know
a new
my
one.
effects are off. I can turn them on if you guys prefer. I was just at it off.
Yeah, keep with your pipes.
Two more.
Great.
White chocolate espresso sent a $1.99 love bomb. He said, not worried about replacing the worst pass rush.
I'm with you, bro. I'm with you. We're dying on these same hills together. I feel like, all right, and last one, and then I'm going to explain the Dan Morgan plan to you.
All right, this one we're going to do the effects for one last time. Rare Gamer 99 sent a $10 love bomb. He said, we traded 2024 1-1. That's the first round in the pick one. McCaffrey, Moore, 2023 top 10, 2023 second, 2024 first, 2025 first, for 1 year Burns rental. Young DJ Johnson and 2 5th-round picks. It's okay to feel bad after this. Time to rebuild this. Yeah, listen, I think we all agree on that, right?
Yeah.
Hindsight makes those feel so much more difficult, right?
Great comment. We can't change the past, though, CK.
We cannot change the past, and I don't think that's what Rare Gamer is saying here. I think Rare Gamer is saying, it's okay to feel bad about those. That is okay. It is okay to look bad. That's the only reason those trades look bad, right? CMC's production with the 49ers and what we did with those picks are the only reason that feels bad, right? So then that's okay, but that does not mean that this decision to move on from Brian Burns is a negative reflection on Dan Morgan.
100%.
This is right now. It is the market that it is. 2 first-round picks 2 years ago wasn't for Brian Burns.
Honestly, I'm surprised
Burns,
we got what we got.
It was for Brian Burns and his rookie contract. That is what we were offered 2 first round.
And a desperate fucking Rams team at that moment.
Right. You've got to look at the scenario, right? Let's look at this from the perspective, and I know you want to talk about your thing, Tony. I just feel like it's important that you look at
it going.
Brian Burns' contract as a rookie is also what is valuable. So you've got to look at the price. It's sort of like if you go to the grocery store and you see 2 things bundled together for a great price, right? You're going to pay that because you're getting this great price and you're getting all these things with it, right? So that's more valuable to you. So you're going to pay more for it because you're getting more things for it than you would be otherwise.
Yeah, but you're getting a great value.
Right. Now, take that out of the equation. Now you're talking about the contract that Brian Burns is going to need. That is actually a negative. That is a liability. That's no longer an asset. So you take that out of the equation and add a negative into this trade, right? 2 first-round picks because you had 2 assets. You had Brian Burns and a rookie contract. Now, we were 2 years later, you have Brian Burns, a massive contract that is negative. So now these scales have changed.
And he wasn't coming off the best season of his career. Think about that.
Right.
Is when they were offering the 2 first-round picks, he was that 1 year where he had the 10+ sacks. That was the year after that.
Right.
So his value was at the all-time high.
Right. Same thing with the Christian McCaffrey thing, right? He was injury plagued for 2 seasons with us. We weren't a good offense. Even
he
when
didn't have 22 games straight with a touchdown like he has this past whatever.
Exactly. He's outplayed that trade. Like they won that trade just based off of how well he's done and how bad we were at drafting.
And I think to me is if any of them, and I'm not going to get lost in that, is I thought that keeping Christian McCaffrey, since you had already paid him the money, keeping a great player, while Cody would come up here and say the running back is not as valuable. I always said this about Christian McCaffrey. He's not just a running back. He is a football player. He's a wide receiver. He's all these different things. But again, he goes to this team. He has this immeasurable success, and now it feels like a loss. Look, the Brian Burns thing, if you want to get what you were offered 2 years ago, that's foolish. I'm probably of the minority of this, and I feel like Cody is probably on my side. I'm actually a little surprised we got as much for Burns as we did. Exactly. Is that I feel like you're at a point where you're not going to pay him. Everybody knows you're not going to pay him. Right. He doesn't want to play on the tag. He's not part of your future. And you're a team that's just trying to get anything for him. So I think the fact that you got a reasonable trade pick is important. But here's what this is the Dan Morgan plan. It came to me in a vision after last night.
Before you start your Dan Morgan plan, I just want to say super quick. That's why I'm of the mindset, like, get over it. You've been through it before. People didn't think we got enough for DJ. People didn't think we got enough for Christian McCaffrey. It's like, you've been through this before. I'm not dwelling on it. I like how YBit Jordan frames it in the chat. Like, we're moving on. That's yesterday's news. And I don't think it was too much. I don't think it was too little. I think it was a fair compensation. It was a high pick, not a first round pick, but I think that was around the ballpark. I was the Giants. I think that's what we were hoping for. I
would not have made this move if I was the Giants.
No.
So when I'm looking at the other side of the team and they go, oh, look, we got this dynamic line. I think if I'm a Giants fan and I'm trying to put myself
somewhat rebuilding.
Right. Yeah. And a terrible run defense. I would say, to me, if I'm a Giants fan, I think you overpaid for Burns, both in draft compensation and contractually. But here is the thing. It came to me in a vision last night after the show. I think I may have even been asleep and dreaming. The question is because people are here, is the people, and it's fair to feel this way, folks. I don't want to tell you what's right or wrong. The Carolina Panthers over the last week or whatever. And even contractually with Brian Burns going back a year, there's a central theme to this, is you're not that good. And you continue to let go of your better players. Right. And that is like, look, Brian Burns, second best player on the deep. Frank, how do you get better? And it's a reasonable thing to say. How do you get better by letting go of the best parts of what isn't great? Right. So here to me is when if you want to know what Dan Morgan's plan is, and I really feel like it's finally a real plan. It might not work, but here's the thing. Think of alternatively what he could have done. Think of what the opposite scenario of what happened over the last 2 days. Instead of trading Brian Burns, you extend him. You say, you know what? This is the player. He's young. We screwed up in the past. We believed 2 years ago he was going to be part of our future, and we're into it now. The market, we got more money through salary cap than ever. It's fair for him to ask for the money. Is it an overpay? We can quibble over this or that. We want to make him the cornerstone of our defense. So say the Carolina Panthers signed him to this deal. $150 million, $87 million guaranteed. Right? So you sink a lot of financial assets into Brian Burns. But then you look, and then some people are saying this is, oh, you could have got Frankie Louvu. And the word with Frankie Louvu is that not that the Panthers didn't want him, but he was interested in playing for a Dan Quinn defense where he sees himself as like, oh, I could be the next Micah Parsons, right? Or something. But so say you did this, is we're going to bring back our two strengths. Our defense was the strength. These are the people that are going to tell us that our defense was a top 5 defense. Right. So our strength of this team was a defense. Let's keep our strength strong. We bring back Brian Burns. We sink a significant financial investment in him. We bring back Frankie Louvu. But let's look at where that defense is still. There are a fuck ton of holes still on the defense. So you go this. We need to, since the defense was our strength, keep it our strength. So we might even have to try to invest a little money in free agency beyond these guys. Or we might need to add some depth through the draft for this. And then, okay, so this is the alternative version. So then you look to the other side of the ball and you go, holy shit, the offense was fucking the most horrific thing in the history of the world last year. But we don't have a ton of money, so we can't go out and just all of a sudden get the best fucking players on the offensive line. We can't go get a T. Higgins. We don't have these assets. So what you try to do is you try to find some value players in free agency, maybe kind of like what they did in the past, trying to get a Pat F-line or a fucking camp. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, we can't afford the best. And then you also are trying to maybe strike a little gold in the draft.
Yeah.
Right. So now let's fast forward to the end of 2024. Best case scenario, the best fucking case scenario ever under a brand new head coach is that you get Brian Burns, you paid him all this money, and the defense is pretty good. And maybe the defense helped you to eke out a 4 and what would that be? 4-13 record. Maybe the defense, because it's your strength, helps you get to be a hair better. Now, let's think about the end of 2024. The questions facing this team are, the defense still is not great. It needs more. But more importantly, the same purgatory question facing us while we have a top 5 pick heading to us probably because we're 4-13 is Bryce Young the future? And to me, the vision of this team right now is, okay, maybe the defense is going to suck. It probably won't be that much worse than it was last year. But at the end of 2024, we need to have more insightful data as we approach the 2025 draft about, should we be thinking about a top 5 defensive edge rusher, or do we fucking reset and take a quarterback? I think this is us about we need to know by the end of this, we don't need to be in the purgatory of, is Bryce Young a great player in a bad situation? We need to have more data going into 2025. If it's time, where to go from there. And I think if you paper mache a fucking defense together and you paper mache an offense together, we are still where we are right now. And that is, we don't know. And that's why I think the Dan Morgan vision is clear. Is fuck it. We might not get wins, but by the end of 2024, we're going to have more valuable data about, is Bryce Young what we want to bet on for the future or not?
Yeah.
And because guess what? You're not going to bet on the defense going forward. Imagine we go into 2025, you have a mediocre defense, a less than impressive offense with questions still swirling about all this shit. Oh, you don't got weapons. You don't got this. But you still need more fucking weapons on defense. At least we will know this, is that going into 2025, if Bryce Young, if we want to give him another year, but more importantly, I hope we know if we want to go beyond that. And if we have a top 5 pick, then we fucking go and get a badass defensive player right out the gate.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
I agree with you. And I've been saying that for a while as well. The plan this year is to properly evaluate Bryce Young. The only way that you're going to do that is if you give him a pocket and give him guys to throw to.
I think it's even less about the guys to throw to. I mean, that's a part of it. Who gives a fuck if you don't have the pocket? We saw Bryce Young deal last year when he had time. He dealt. Right. And so, yeah, you're going to give him some weapons, but he's not going to have the best fucking weapons in the history of the world on the outside.
But he has to have better weapons than last year, though.
Sure. But you know what you don't need is a fucking offensive line like last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And his first two moves are two offensive linemen. And again, this is why I feel that she vastly misrepresented the feel of Panther fans. Because if you're somebody that wants to get the most out of Bryce, you don't give a damn that we got rid of Brian Burns in order to protect our investment in Bryce. And this is something I've also been saying, Tony. Who cares if the defense is better or worse than last year? It's hard to be worse, but it could probably be a little bit better. But the point is, you need to, if you don't think this is going to be a contending football team, then why not elevate the offense and actually build an offense that can score points? We have been one of the worst scoring teams in the NFL the past 4 years running. It's embarrassing on the fan base. It's embarrassing on the team. You have to do right by this offense. And I also think at large, the fan base is tired of 10 to 13 final scores.
Let me ask you this, is because Monty doesn't know that he is my Twitter adversary. He doesn't know that every time I look at Twitter and I see his tweets, I fucking get angry because I don't respond. But it just makes my blood boil.
Oh, I responded to him today.
No, I don't. Yeah. But here's the thing: is he is the. So as you say that, this is his response, and he's feel free, Monty, to call in and tell me I'm wrong. But I've seen you say this. Is so what we're gonna now lose 15 games, but instead of 20-7, it's gonna be 21-17. Right. Is what he's going to say is this. What he would say is this, is that you are trying to sleight of hand by giving us a more conducive offensive product at the sacrifice of the defense, but you still lose. To me, I think you need to temper your position a hair. And not you. What I mean by this is, like, it's not just about getting a more visually exciting product. Right. It's like to me is like, sure. Would it be better for us to not?
He said, right. Let's lose 40-30 instead of 21-3. And I'm like, yeah, dude, let's fucking do that. I'm all about
when
that.
We got blanked, I think we scored 0 points against the Jags. Or when I look back at it, I was like, Jesus, that's terrible. We got shut out more times this year than we've been shut out in the last 20 years or some shit like that.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I understand. My point to all of you guys is this, is that we're not going to fix this on the offense or the defense overnight. Right. So piecemealing a little bit to make us feel a little bit better. I want to know this. I want to know by the end of next year if Bryce Young, if we believe in him or not. I don't think that we should make a decision at that point, but I think Dan Morgan and them should have a compass by that point.
Yeah,
I don't know if they need to
the right track.
I don't know if they need to immediately say we're done with Bryce Young, because I do think 3 years would be the most fair consensus look at it. But for me, I'm sitting here going, let's think about 2025 when we could have cap money. Right. And where do we allocate it then? Imagine if you, by the end of 2024, believe more in Bryce Young, feel more comfortable about this. And then you go into 2025. Yeah, the defense doesn't have the great, but you could invest a top pick in a edge rusher and go and get a Brian Burns type play. You know what I'm saying? You're the one spending $150 million there. I think that people who are upset about the Brian Burns move, who are upset about this and that and this and that, are immediatist. I think they want it to be fixed tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it can't be. That's the fucking problem. We need to be thinking 2 moves down the road, not 1.
I don't think it can be fixed tomorrow, but I think that we can make a lot of headway that people aren't even necessarily expecting us to make. So I don't know. It's going to be
make headway. You had 2 fucking wins, dude.
It's going to depend on how Dave Canales can motivate this football team to be the best versions of themselves. And so far, I have no reason to think that he's not a motivator. You want to go through some of these slides? Or you want to take some
Let's take one more call. Or we got a lot of calls still. We're going to be here. We're not going to be here till 3 a.m. We do got to get through a lot. Let's take a couple of calls.
Yo, it's Lou from Fort Myers, man. And boy, oh boy. I know last week we talked about we didn't see nobody picking up Brian Burns, but to be the second most paid defensive end? Oh my goodness, bro. My friend is a Giants fan, so I told him, I was like, you got the king of almost. When he almost gets a sack or almost makes a tackle, don't even be mad at it, because that's all he did in Carolina, bro. But, ooh, really? All that money? We picked up Deontay Johnson. We let go Dante Jackson. We let go freaking Louisville. We let go YGM. Dude, we let go but we signed JJ Jensen. Like, bro, what? But we keep JJ Jensen and Ian Thomas. Like, bro, I'm sorry. I don't want to sound like that guy, but if CJ Henderson is still on this team, bro, I'm losing it. I'm freaking losing it, dog. I'm freaking losing it. It's like he said he wanted some dogs, right? And then he let the good dogs go, right? Like, let's be real. Brian Burns was like a wiener dog, bro. But woo-hoo, that nigga was like a Rottweiler, bro. Bro.
Dog.
He let go both of our defensive ends. He picked up this fat dude that caught a ball and almost scored a touchdown. That's not a dog, bro. But, bro, I don't know. I'm going to let Dan Morgan cook, bro. Dave Canales was not lying when he said he had no emotional connection to this team. Cause God,
I don't think Evero either.
God, bro.
Evero
It's
said,
looking
fuck
like
Jeremy
a
Chin.
fire sale out here, bro. Fire sale. But, Kirk Cousins to Atlanta. I know Kirko my dog, but it's F him, bro. We hate them birds, bro. F Kirk Cousins, bro. I'm sorry, bro. And I like Kirk Cousins, bro. I stick up for Kirk Cousins. I pick him in fantasy every year, bro. Most consistent dude you'll ever meet, bro. But
he's the most elite
sorry, bro. I love
financial
every single
dude
one of
in
y'all.
the
Make
history
sure
of the
y'all
world.
like and subscribe to the video. I can't wait to watch the show, bro. I can't wait to see y'all reactions, bro. Shout out to everybody, you know what I'm saying? Big C3.
Thank you, Lou. For Kirk
Appreciate
Cousins,
you, Lou.
For Kirk Cousins, I want to point out this is a giant fan of him just because of his money game. Bro, I got respect for that game. That guy's made more money than the best fucking players in football. So you can call him mid, whatever, mid this, but you know what he ain't mid at? His fucking pocketbook. The other thing is, I'm ready to, and this I know is going to sound fucking incredibly terrible to Panther fans. I'm tired of us saying that the NFC South is a weak division so we can compete. I'm ready to let these other fucking mediocre teams fight over it and us wait in the wings to get to the point where we really own it.
I mean, that's what's been happening. That doesn't have to change. That's how it's been.
But everybody thinks this is like, oh, well, we could fucking do, I'm ready. You know what? Let Kirk Cousins and them cook for a minute.
Kirk Cousins not about to do shit.
Well, he's coming off a major injury.
This man has won one playoff game
way better than
in his history. So he's great. He's also he's great.
I'm not gonna shit on him, dude. I respect his game.
Kirk Cousins don't fucking scare me at all.
No, he doesn't scare.
In those big moments, he's not clutch. When the camera's on him, when it's prime times, Kirk Cousins ain't shit. There's no difference between him. There's no difference between him and Derek Carr. Take that shit to the bank.
He's a better player.
You're reciting things that are accurate to his early career with the Commanders.
Yeah,
but you're misrepresenting how his career has moved since he's gone to the Vikings,
and especially too the last since Mike Zimmer left too.
Yeah,
CK, I mean, he has become he has been unfortunately.
He's a higher paid Andy Dalton. That's who he is.
Way
He's
better.
a better paid
better than
Andy
all
Dalton.
of those dudes.
Yeah,
not even close.
And look, I don't need to shit on him to make me feel better. What I know this is that the Carolina Panthers, I don't want to back into a division win. So yeah, you can say they're going to suck this. I'm ready to let Tampa Bay and Atlanta fight it out for the division for the next 2 years. I want to talk about when we get to the point where we have a team that can win the division and then advance in the playoffs. So I don't give a fuck about them right now. I'm talking about an incremental build.
This dude's nuts, right?
No, I'm not slobbering him at all.
That guy,
look at his stats.
Basic.
Look at his touchdowns to interceptions over the last 3 years.
He's not clutch. He's a bridesmaid, never a bride, dude. That's all he is.
He's not as bad. Fine. That's fine. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is this.
Cody,
I don't want Panther fans coming in here saying, oh, we did this. We did this. We're going to fucking win the division next year. If we back into the division, God bless us. That would be amazing. I am not going to judge the Panthers' success on wins.
Also, by the way, just to put this into perspective, Cody, you said that he's the same thing as Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton's had 2 career years where he has actually thrown 4,000 yards. You know how many Kirk Cousins has had? And he had 3 years where he wasn't even the starter in Washington. You know how many 4,000 yard career or years he's had?
Yeah, with Justin
7,
Jefferson
probably.
and Stephon Diggs. How many
Fine. That's not what we're saying.
How many did he have?
He had
cool.
7 of them.
Fine.
What I'm saying is this. He's far better than Andy Dalton. He's far better than David Carr. And whether he not works, I don't give a fuck if he works out in Atlanta. I'm not rooting for him. I'm just saying this is I don't really care what happens with other teams in the South over the next 2 years. I'm more worried about the Panthers just getting better as a team. I'm not measuring our success and wins. I think if you that's what we did wrong this past year. We thought we were going to all of a sudden be a winning team. And it's about getting better in the right way. So I don't give a fuck about Kirk Cousins in Atlanta. I don't give a fuck about any of these guys. If I hope we beat them, I hope we upset their day when we get there. But to me, I don't need to shit on him right now. I think the bigger scary part about Kirk Cousins, if you're an Atlanta fan, is him coming off a major injury at his age.
Yes.
The second thing, I think that's the most realistic thing about it. But the second thing, I just want to give people credit where credit is due. So you can say he's mid, you can say he's not. I'm fine. I'm not arguing against that.
He's not elite. He's not clutch.
But you know where he is elite? Financially, bro.
Yeah,
and I'm ready to say this about Donald Trump. I respect Donald Trump's game in one way.
Oh, can we not do the fucking
No,
politics
it's not a politics
thing?
thing. I don't care. Look, this motherfucker knows how to use Instagram and Twitter better than I do. You got to sometimes respect what people are good at. And Kirk Cousins has negotiated the best financial deals
but what does
in
that
the
mean?
history of football.
What does that mean, though? Why should anyone give a fuck?
More money.
He's a Falcon. They are perennial underachievers.
When it comes to money,
is perfect for Atlanta, and that they're always hyped up, and they're never ever going to amount to shit.
He's made more money than fucking Patrick Mahomes.
I'm more afraid of the Saints than I am.
I'm not afraid of him. You're not understanding what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I respect his financial game, dude.
Okay.
How about this? This motherfucker was the first person in the NFL to get multiple fully guaranteed years.
He ain't giving you none of it. So
you don't care. I'm just saying respect. Don't hate the player, hate the game. What I'm saying is this motherfucker went to Minnesota after being tagged, I think 2 years in a row. And he said this, I want a fully guaranteed deal. He got what Lamar wanted 5 years earlier. It just wasn't as long. You know what I'm saying? And he might go down as the most financially savvy football player ever. And maybe it's his agent. I don't know. But this motherfucker has made more money than anybody. So you know what? If you tell me a guy's mid and he got paid more than everybody, respect that game. I respect that. We got one more call. We'll get through we got a lot more calls, but a short call, and then we'll get through the news.
Yeah, I believe Corbett moving to center is going to be a lot bigger for this offensive line because there was a lot of people saying he was not just the best lineman we had, but the best offensive player we had before his latest injury. Moving him to center where he doesn't have to pull on sweeps and traps and he just plays the middle and can direct traffic because he's smart and has that experience. I think that's going to take our run game to the next level for sure. That's all I got to say about that. But yeah, the starting five look good, and I want him to still draft center Frazier in the second round with 33, and then get Leggett with 39, and our offense will be ready to go.
Let's go to more of the show, Cody. Just to tell you what I'm talking about.
Who's sharing that?
That's me. I'm showing you Mina Kimes talking about our trade for. This is something she put out 30 minutes ago, talking about how our wide receivers couldn't get separation last year and how Johnson ranks first among all wide receivers in ESPN's open score, which accounts for routes, coverage, etc.
Yeah. So who cares if he's crying? I just want to bring this up about Kirk Cousins. He was drafted in 2012, the same year that the Washington Redskins traded an immense, like a crazy haul to move up to
took
second.
RG3 at number 2.
Right. So they still drafted him in the same draft, like in the 5th round or some crap like that. He has a career earnings. Kirk Cousins, who has been in the league since 2012, 12 years, he has made $281.5 million. Pull up a player over the last decade who has made more money than that. I want to know. That's what I'm saying. This motherfucker has made $281 million in 12 years. That's fucking insane. Like real fucking money. But let's go to the next news.
Cool. He's never going to win shit. So
I don't care. You know what he won? He won goddamn the bank account, bro.
So what? He's not giving it to me. He's not giving it to you. And he's on the Falcon. Dude, fuck.
What are you saying this? Is you might as well. I never looked at the Drake video, but I heard his dick was as big as a fucking canoe.
Why
do you got to be like, oh, well, he's not giving it to me. It's not a huge dick. It's just a huge dick.
Fuck? Oh my God, dude, you need to move on.
No,
that was a terrible analogy. Okay. And dude.
Oh, I don't get any of it, so it doesn't matter. His bank account is still fucking huge. Yeah.
Hey, how about this? You're more likely to get Drake's big ass dick than any of Kirk Cousins' money.
That's a lie.
So I'm tired of fucking talking about Kirk Cousins. Lie. He's fucking basic, and he's not going to win a damn thing with the Falcons.
I will get Kirk Cousins.
Did we say we had some phone calls?
No. We do have phone calls, but we got to go through these.
What the fuck are we doing?
But like, you like can't say that. It doesn't matter. His bank account is bigger than Drake's dick. That guy
fucking sucks, dude.
Okay. Not his bank account, motherfucker. You're the one.
My bank account. I don't give a shit
either. Go to the next slide. They say
we haven't even talked about our fucking.
Y'all ain't giving credit to a guy that made $281 million and you call him mid. That's the fucking biggest player in this room.
He's mid. He's fucking.
Imagine
mid.
if you had a dick that was
one playoff game.
Everybody just fucking worshipped you.
He's won one playoff game.
All right, hey, do we have some more news to talk about?
No, I just think this. Anyway. Kirk Cousins' bank account is bigger than anybody's.
Bro, look at this fucking comments we had, bro. All right, look. Back to the show. The Panthers have added linebacker Josie Jewell. Well, except when we're talking about Drake's dick or whatnot. Panthers new linebacker Josie Jewell had a career high in tackles, 128, and interceptions too in the Giro Rivera's defense in 2022 in Denver. Jewell said it was the most fun he's had in the NFL.
Who is it?
Jewell.
We signed him today.
Linebacker. He's an inside linebacker.
You didn't put the news up that we got him today.
Yeah, I did.
We haven't talked about it yet.
We're doing it now.
Okay. Oh, right, you mean like when you had to listen to us talk about who we talked about?
Yeah, I'm producing. What's your excuse? Talking about Kirk Cousins, Jules, and Drake's dick. Josie Jewell He's an inside linebacker, and he had his best years as a linebacker in the Gio Rivero's defense.
I think he's been good, period, right?
We can even compare his numbers to one Frankie Louvu. And if we're counting, technically our man had better numbers than Louvu did. So I think this is another guy like Ashawn Robinson that is familiar with Rivero's defense. He already knows how to run it. And I'm excited, man, for what he has the potential to do for us.
Is he financially more or less expensive than what Louvu got in Washington? Go back to the number.
Oh, incredibly less. Like it's like less than half.
We've got a player who we did not invest as much financially. We now add more to this context. Is Frankie Louvu left the Panthers more than the Panthers left him? And it sounds like more so that he's interested in joining the Dan Quinn scheme, to where, again, I think Frankie Louvu is kind of interested in, I'm 30 years old. I'm getting some popularity, some notoriety. I'm playing my best football. Maybe I can get with a guy who can take a guy like Micah Parsons, who isn't the most physically imposing guy, but can make him a fucking monster. And I don't know if he's like saying, oh, I'm going to be the next Micah Parsons necessarily, but he was more interested in playing in that scheme than Evero's. But this is an Evero guy. This is another Evero signing. Familiarity with Jewel. I hope we're not going to get sued by the nicotine police because the Jewel people ruined everything with whatever. I smoke real cigarettes, not fake cigarettes. None of that science shit. But you go to the next clip of what Jewel said about playing with Evero. Not clip. I think we have one quote from him in the next slide, I believe.
No, we did not.
Did you take it out?
Well, what were you looking at?
I put in I thought I put it in, and this was Jewel said, like, look, as I had the best time playing under Evero's defense. I was playing my best football. He's a great guy to talk to. He raved about Evero. This is Evero has gone out and gotten his dudes. He went and got Ashawn Robinson familiar with, Troy Hill familiar with, this Jewel kid familiar with. Let go of Jeremy Chin. Don't give a fuck about this guy.
Yeah, moved on from him. And here we have a little quick summation of our boy Dan, man. This is what he has done in 2 days' time. Traded for Deontay Johnson while simultaneously cutting dead weight, moving on from Dante Jackson, signed offensive guards Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis. I mean, literally back to back. Signed linebacker Josie Jewell. Signed Ashawn Robinson. And we haven't even talked about this yet. And Tony, you sort of alluded to it earlier. Instead of having these big name edge rushers like a lot of people want, we might go, I guess, a bargain bin route in terms of guys like DJ Wanham, who's taking a visit, and one that has been very controversial over the past 2 years, Chase Young is scheduled to visit with the Carolina Panthers. He's also visiting the Tennessee Titans and the New Orleans Saints. And I think that would be perfect for us this year. Incredibly physical. I mean, he damn near had Brian Burns' numbers last year, but he's bigger, a little bit stronger. He was more highly touted coming out of college. Never quite lived up to the draft.
Jeremy Chin should have been Defensive Player of the Year, not him.
Yeah, true.
Shouldn't have.
But I mean, I think a guy like him and even Jadeveon Clowney coming in and having that pass rush by committee, I think that's probably what the Panthers are going to do, and I don't think it's a bad move.
CK, I'll ask you about this because somebody, myself, who was very critical of Chase Young and what I saw in the few games that I watched him play, to me, this is not about the one-for-one player. To me, this is the Panthers not interested in sinking long-term money into anything other than the offensive line. Right? You go get Deontay Johnson at wide receiver, but you can be done with him next year. I feel like whatever you're going to add on the defense are short-term products. Is like maybe they're good, maybe they suck. What I like about these guys is these guys are going to have to play on 1 or 2 year prove-it deals. And we're not going to be invested in them for the long term. That's my problem with the Brian Burns deal. CK, as someone, I was critical of Chase Young. Do you see some method to the madness in this type of player? Not even Chase Young, but these shorter term deals with these defensive players.
Yeah, I mean, I think the method is I think you're going to see them start to really try to develop players that are younger, that are coming from the draft, while having people to be able to fill the holes that we have on this team. They are not. I mean, my hope is that we're playing Moneyball right now, right? We're getting guys who are going to do exactly what the plan is for Evero's defense. And, somehow these things just all coincide to be an incredible outcome for the Panthers. It's unlikely, but that's the hope, right? But outside of that, if the hope is that, and it's it's an outside chance that it's going to take place, maybe one of these guys are going to turn out to be a franchise type of a guy. So we keep him on, right? But we can start to get some of these younger players developed, and we can actually start to build this team and the future through a draft and through the developmental process that we have failed to do for the past 10 years, really.
All right, let's take some calls. Thank you, the real C3AP. You're my friend. That's why I sent you that shirt.
Yeah, I believe Corbett moving to center is going to be a lot bigger for this offensive line, because there was a lot of people saying he was not just the best lineman we had, but the best offensive player we had before his latest injury. Moving him to center, where he doesn't have to pull on sweeps and traps, and he just plays the middle and can direct traffic. He's smart and has that experience.
Good point.
I think that's going to take our run game to the next level for sure. Yeah.
Great point.
All I got to say about that. But yeah, the starting five look good, and I want him to draft center Frazier in the second round with 33, and then get Leggett with 39.
Watch out, folks. I hate to disappoint you. Dan Morgan, who's the linebacker from NC State that ran a 4.41?
Peyton Wilson. He's been training with Luke
Kuechly.
I think we need him.
Second round, bro. We're going linebacker.
Get a center and a linebacker
right there. And no wide receiver. Imagine fucking Monty blowing up the history of the internet there.
Well, I mean, we're not done yet, man.
That linebacker's happening, bro. Luke Kuechly there. Dan Morgan, a linebacker.
That's what I'm saying. It's time to do this, man. We have had legendary linebacker play on this team now, and for the fact that we have that we have neglected that inside linebacker position. Bro, that's criminal. And I do think
anybody who says bring back Shaq Thompson, fuck you.
And by the way, I disagree. Molyneux or Moto Linux, Peyton. Well, I don't think that he's guaranteed to be gone by 33. I really don't.
All right, let's power through some calls.
Hey, what's up, C3 family? This is the real AP. Just speaking on Morgan right now.
What up, AP?
I think so far he's been as aggressive as he can be with what he has to work with. That's all I'm saying. I'm staying positive. More will be revealed. Keep counting, my brothers.
All right, guess who's coming out next? The G baby.
Bro, he's so happy, dude. You've never heard him this happy.
Italian brother. I call him my Utah not Mormon black brother that nobody believes is black, but say that. Say it. Say it.
G baby.
Say it.
He's happy, Tone.
Hey. You know who the fuck it is. Booyaka, booyaka, booyaka! What's good with my boys? You know who it is? It's G-Baby. What's good with my motherfucking dogs? Hey, sorry.
But wait till after his...
See, I was held. See, last time I made my call, I got bitched at, you dig? And I got a foot on my ass. So we're going to go over to my son's room real quick. We're going to set the door. And now we get my son's room and say the N-word. My motherfucking dogs. You know what it is? Just keep fucking pounding until the day I fucking die, y'all. What's fucking good, man? Oh my God! Today has just been yesterday. This whole free agency has just been absolutely insane for the Carolina Panthers, y'all. I mean, we got so much to fucking talk about. Before I even talk, let's give some credit to Dan Morgan. Like I said yesterday, it's time to give Dan Morgan some goddamn fucking credit. Dan Morgan has made moves that I never thought in my wildest fucking crazy ass dreams that I have all the time. I never thought he would fucking make. Like, boys, when in Carolina Panther history have we ever made moves like this on day one, day two? This is just a negotiation period, bro. This ain't even day one. Like, Deontay fucking Johnson, hold on. I gotta give my condolences.
See, baby, sound like he about to
y'all know
singing.
I fuck with Dante and I fuck with Jeremy heavy. I mean, heavy, so heavy to the point where I actually send these boys messages of just encouragement, man. Those were my motherfucking dogs, and I'm not gonna get on here and say fuck them or I hate them, because you know they were my dogs, and you know, kudos to my dogs. They on to better pastures and greener grass, and you know, shout out to y'all. Back to my motherfucking squad. What's good with you, CK? What's good with my dog? What's good with my motherfucking
This
nigga?
is a tame call, by the way.
What's good? What's good with my white Italian brother? What's good with my motherfucking dogs? Y'all know who the fuck this is. And we on all night. I don't give a fuck. I work tomorrow. I don't give a fuck. I'm a Carolina Panthers fan. And hey, all you fucking hating ass motherfuckers. Hey, misery loves company, dog. Misery loves company. If you are hating, or if you're even mad, or even finding something to hate on, fuck you, bro. Because now you're just finding shit to hate on, bro. For no damn reason. My time is running out. You know I'm calling back. So G, baby, big old fucking bro.
Booyaka, booyaka, booyaka.
Hey, man, shout out to fucking C3 Nation, man. It's G, baby. Shout out to my motherfucking C3 fucking Nation, man. Y'all fucking homegrown my niggas, bro. Y'all brought me in, dog. What the fuck y'all talking about? I wouldn't be shit without C3, man. I wouldn't be shit without Cody Lack and company, dog. Y'all are family to me, bruh. Y'all are everything to me, man. I promise y'all, man. It's always going to be C3 before anything. Talk about our fucking squad, man. We got Deontay fucking Johnson for nothing. For nothing. And before I start talking again, I want to give a shout out to D's and C3 for fucking running that spaces like it's a motherfucking business. You're my motherfucking people, man. Shout out to that OG people, man. It was you and I the entire time taking shots, getting shit on X, on everything. It was you and I taking those fucking bullets for Dan Morgan, G. I'll fucking run into a line and kick his ass for you, OG. What the fuck are they talking about? You a motherfucking dog. You a real Carolina Panthers fan, G. I fuck with you heavy, pickle.
Have fun, callers.
Back to the fucking squad. We got Deontay Johnson for nothing. We got a premium fucking wide receiver for nothing. Shout out to Dante. Dante was going to get cut, y'all. Dante was gone.
Yes, he was.
And Dan Morgan was working the phone this entire time and got a premium wide receiver for nothing. We got two gorillas. Left guard, right guard. Austin Corbett, hey, I'm calling it right now. All pro for the dude. And I'm going to tell you why. When you walk to the offensive line and you got a gorilla on one side and you got the other gorilla on the right side, and they're actually big gorillas and they actually can do their fucking job at pushing the pocket. And then on the outside, you got a first-round tackle and a consistent tackle and fucking Taylor Moton. Are you kidding me? Shout out to the motherfucking offensive line, dog. Something we could never do for Cam Newton. And guess what? We're doing it for fucking Bryce Young. We're doing it for Bryce fucking Young. The truth. Something we never did for Cam. I'm calling back, y'all.
I'm calling back, y'all. Yo, Jimmy, fucking love you, dog.
I do.
You're the best, bro. C3 for fucking life, boy. Yo,
I have been a G baby defender since he first called in, and he was hard on me in the beginning, right? Like
he was hard on me. He was hard on all of us.
But here's the thing: is I love how people are like, "Oh, he's on the Utah Admiral." And what I love is when and first, I love any call. If you give us your time, your energy, and your perspective, wonderful. But I love the creativity in certain calls. I love when people I love when other callers talk shit about it, not jostle with each other. So right there is a passion right there that is, you couldn't fake that. Like you could call and try to be fake G baby, and we will find
bro,
you
that's
out.
real.
You will
That
find
is
you out.
G
And somebody
baby.
said this funny hashtag. Did you see that? This hashtag G baby is white. Oh shit! Like this is such a running joke.
Dude,
It's
look,
so funny.
For a long time, him and C Dog. Shout out C Dog, who's been a long time listener. We've had so many people in the chat over the years be like, "Ban G baby, nobody wants to hear that shit." Get rid of C Dog, bro. When I say this shit, we mean it. We don't tell people how to be a fan. C3 is for fucking everybody.
I may not play it around your kids sometimes, but
we are going to be Panther fans together, and we're going to share these differing opinions and be willing to disagree with one another. That's what the free-for-all is for, man. That free-for-all has turned into something completely different over the years, man. It's like a real community over here at C3, man. So
bring that energy. Bring something funnier, right?
One of the realest.
Bring a better call than that. That's what I say. All right, I'm going to play another call here.
Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, C3 family. This is Nick from Seattle. What a wild free agency we've had so far.
Nick?
I got to give a shout out to my man CK, Codizzle Allen. He had the tweet of the day for me talking about how he was talking about when people are like, yeah, the Panthers have such a good defense. You think teams with more sacks and less points are calling like, man, only if we had a defense like the Panthers. Great tweet, CK. So far, I'm really intrigued, and I'm very curious to see what we continue to do, but I'm happy with the direction so far. Everyone knows we had to build that wall to fortify it for Bryce. We got a tiny little quarterback. We got to protect him. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But the other things, yeah, it hurt seeing all the good players go, but we were 2-15 last year. Like, you don't need to keep a bunch of people from a 2-15 team. We got one strong building block in Bryce. They fortified the line around Icky. Personally, though, the one thing I have a big question mark about is moving Corbett to center. Because it's like, I can't find any history of him playing center in the NFL other than some practice snaps in preseason. But the man just is coming off back-to-back knee injuries to the same knee. He rushed back last year and he just got hurt again. Y'all remember when we signed Matt Paradis coming off that broken leg? And he was dog shit that first year. I don't know. I believe we need a veteran center to help Bryce, but I'm not sure Corbett's it. But, after what we've done today, getting Jewel, the linebacker from Denver, getting that big-ass Allen Robinson, I don't know, Alshon Robinson, got a big D tackle to be eat up some space next to Derek Brown. That's nice. I'm really looking forward to see what else we can do. I was hoping we'd go out and trade for T. Higgins today, use one of those seconds. But at the same time, if we don't add anything else this year, I'm good with it because we just got to embrace the suck this year and prepare for next year, What do y'all boys think? If there was one signing we could make that was realistic for this offseason, what would it be? Because it's got to be something for next year. It can't be for now because we ain't doing shit. Lastly, you think it's realistic that we're going to get Justin Simmons to replace all the safeties we let go? Let me know what you think, boys. Keep pounding.
Great call, man. CK, give me your thoughts on potentially bringing Justin Simmons here and your thoughts on Austin Corbett being the center for the Carolina Panthers. Do you trust that, or do you think it's time to either upgrade by free agency or the draft?
So with regard to the center, I think we have to do the draft. I think center has to be a priority if we are indeed moving on from Bradley Bozeman. Now, the Simmons thing, the thing I like about that, he's a safety, correct?
Yes.
So the safety market has diminished incredibly for the past 5 years. And so the price for a Justin Simmons isn't going to be the same price as a top flight cornerback, right? So, I think that he offers maybe a little more upside than we had with Von Bell. So I'm interested to see if that's something that we could see materialize. I don't think the safety market right now is taking a hit, so it's certainly worth a flyer if we can get him in here.
I would. I definitely would. And I'm of the mindset that I think there are draftable centers, but I would not mind at all putting Corbett there and seeing if we could build something up. Oh, by the way, if you haven't gotten to your call yet, we have a bunch. We're trying to just run through them at the end of the show here. We got a few of them, but they're coming. We're getting to them.
Here we go.
What's up, C3? It's Anthony from Charlotte. Hope y'all boys are having a good Tuesday.
This was his first
to call in.
Yeah, I played recent calls first in this show because a lot of the new news.
I kind of gave a glance about it. I'm going to talk about Brian Burns, but we signed another guard. I mean, dude, they're not bullshitting us with what they want to do. They're going to run the football this year, playoff play action. You got the offensive line instantly upgraded humongously. We haven't had signings like this, and I don't even know. Like, seriously, I don't know. Maybe 10 years. Like, it's kind of crazy, man. And I think this is going to help Ike Ekwonu a lot too. Like, for the same argument about, you know, what Cody was trying to make for Bradley Bozeman, I think Ike could get some of that grace as well. Just because the interior was so bad. And I do also want to say, I know Corbett's at center for right now. He's my biggest issue, honestly, on the offensive line, because I feel like we're going to be in a run-heavy system. I don't think Ike Ekwonu is going to have problems. But
what are you laughing about over there, CK?
For him, excuse me, you got to think if they draft a center now, he can start. That's okay, but he's also coming off 2 major injuries, so that center may get a lot of playing time this upcoming year. Okay, so I love that. They're investing heavy money in the guards. Then you move to the tackle. Okay, they got a huge run stuffer right next to Derek Brown. He's trying to emphasize both sides of the trenches. You got Jules Jewell, a linebacker from the Broncos that played in Evero system in 13 games in his system compared to Frankie's 17 in the past year. He was actually better statistically, and we saved $5 million a year from signing him as opposed to the contract Luvu got. So I don't think fans should freak out. Frankie Luvu, definitely a great player, but I don't think he's a game changer by any means. And then the big ones, Dan Morgan, right to work, Chase Young, and DJ Unamo, I think, from South Carolina. Played on the Vikings, 8 sacks last year. Chase Young, 7.5. Both brought in for visits tomorrow. Don't let them leave the building. Give them prove-it deals. And Tony was talking about this last night. You're telling me we couldn't go out and pick up 12 sacks anywhere? It's like, dude, come on. Like, I'm telling you guys, if we sign these 2 guys, they'll do the exact same thing Brian Burns has been doing for us. But fans will still be upset because their names aren't Brian Burns. It's a bunch of hokey-pokey bullshit. Get over the fact that we've lost some players, okay? It's ridiculous. Hopefully we get a wide receiver, Anthony from Charlotte. Keep motherfucking
yeah. See, this is why I play some of the more recent calls right around the breaking news time. I didn't want to go too deep in the well from the morning right off the bat. But we are going to make sure everybody's call gets heard. And look, here's a first-time caller, it looks like.
What up, boys? First-time caller. I guess we'll call me Danimal. Yeah, I just want to comment about the old
what's up, dude?
Question about us being a top 5. I think I agree. I agree with you boys saying it was a fool's gold defense, but nobody's really saying the testament of how this defense performed, because Ejiro Evero was the man behind it, who took all these, like this island of misfit toys, basically, with a few good guys, and really made a splash, considering the offense was so abysmal. So I think it was the right call to get some picks, to get some stuff going, build around Bryce, and I can't wait to see what Ejiro does with this upcoming draft class. I think we're going to be all right, boys. We ain't out of the woods yet, so we got to go out and get some talent. But I think this staff can get it done. We're more than capable. Keep pounding.
Thank you for the call, Danimal. Great first call. And I don't, that's largely what our Fool's Gold discussion is about, is not trying to shit on the defense last year, but to try to tell us it was great is wrong. I think this is that the defense was the brighter side of a 2-15 team last year. The defense played better than we anticipated, given that they didn't have anybody and they were injured all year. They lost important parts throughout the season. They lost Jace, but that's our point here, is that I don't think the Panthers, this is the real testament. Who gives a fuck what we think? The Panthers didn't think that defense was the thing to build around.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, and they're right for that, is because if you go out and win 5 games next year because the defense is improved and good, and you still are at the same question going into 2025 of what do we do with Bryce Young, you have wasted another season.
Yeah.
Just wasted another season. So
100%.
Next call. Oh, the same. Oh, no. What up? This is Jay from Anderson.
What's up, guys? It's Chase from Anderson.
Chase.
It's 4:00 on a Tuesday. Well, some of the news of what players going to be released, like Von Bell and what's his name, Jackson and Bozeman. My question is, why release them and not try to at least trade for like you can get a 4th or 5th or 6th for some of those players. Bozeman's a nice center, so I'm sure you can get something for him. Jackson, you can get something for him. So what's the benefits of trading versus just cutting them completely? Well, what's the advantage of that? Also seeing that Chase Young is set to visit the Panthers. Well, there's your Brian Burns replacement right there for probably going to be half the cost if that happens. The only move so far I'm not happy with is, I wouldn't say not happy with, but I'll say I don't know why not keep Bozeman. Are you really saving that much cap space compared to, even though he doesn't supposedly fit to the system, but I think he's still a solid player. Now you got 2 better guards to be beside him. I think he would be all right. That's my thoughts on that. I hate that Frankie Louvu's gone. All these people that's up in arms about Burns being gone. I mean, he's 8 sacks a season guy. Big deal. Oh my goodness, it's going to be so hard to replace 8 sacks a season. What a joke. Anyways,
you know what? The real C3 AP kept it real. How about that? Keep it real. Next call. This might go to Muscles. Come on, fat finger Tony.
What's up, C3 Mafia? This is Rule right now. The roller back. You feel me? I don't know why everybody's so upset. And then I seen the general Twitter talk about, Sheena was talking about, we feel like we've been fleeced. Listen, that's not Dan Morgan's fault. That's Scott Fitterer's fault.
Yes.
Let's take it back to school. If you're in school,
we need to talk about this.
And you're not producing in school. You're not getting good grades, and you're failing your class. How do you expect to graduate? How do you expect to graduate and walk across that stage? Okay, we were 2-15 or something like that.
That's right.
How do you expect it? Like, what do you expect? Burn the whole thing down. Nobody feared the Panthers. Nobody fears the Panthers right now. All that, can't believe we let Brian Burns go. We let Frankie Uvu go. So what? Bro. They were part of the 2-15 team. Go. Everybody that was part of that team, go. If I could give it a Bryce Young, you go too. Everybody go, bro. Just start over. It's okay to burn stuff to start over. We've been asking for a rebuild. Well, now we got one.
People just need to stop crying and let things happen.
Thank you, bro.
Please. All I ever hear is, can't believe we let Brian Burns go. And oh my God, what are we doing? We got finessed. We've been finessed for a while now since we had Matt Rule up in the office. So get used to it because we rebuilding and we gonna suck for a while. Peace.
I'm happy to hear that we have so many callers that truly do understand the lay of the land. And look, they must be smart because they listen to us every Tuesday. You know what I'm saying? But dude, I think that we really do have a lot of reasonable fans that understand what the Panthers are trying to do, and to not dwell on shit that's in the past. Like people were telling me this when I was like, we should have drafted CJ. But you know what? You're right. It's in the past. Bryce is the quarterback, and Brian Burns is gone. So let's collectively move the fuck on together.
Right. I do want to bring this up though, because you said that is DJ the Kid 91, who has been a great conversationalist in the chat. Last night, noteworthy at contributions. Had a good discussion with him on Twitter as well today, even though he said your take is the stupidest thing I've ever heard, which I'm fine with. Where you been at, bro? I laid it all out and explained it all, and now you're here. But there is something, I think, not to the Brian Burns part, but I want to go to this, is the concept of freeing Dan Morgan from the past entirely, exonerating him completely from the decisions that were made. Now, I thought there was a real reason. I thought the reason that we kept Dan Morgan was very specific, and that is someone who has some sort of belief in Bryce Young. Like he was there when they made that decision, and hopefully he can remember why they made that decision despite the adversity that they encountered in the first year. I thought like part of it is like you got to remember why you got married. Like when you're going through marital problems, you got to remember why you fell in love with that person for the first place, not just what's going on now. But this idea of exonerating Dan Morgan, guess who was not exonerating him? And that is Joe Person from The Athletic. He was talking about this deal that they got fleeced. And he wrote this. That was, let me find I thought I had it pulled up. He said, hold on, where is it? I had it pulled up. Because I hate the guy, Suleiman, because I still think people believe he was cool because of his name. I'm going to find it in just a second. But it said this, is that in all the people, when they were going back to when the Rams offered the 2 first, that the only person that said take it was Suleiman. And so what he was saying is don't completely exonerate Dan Morgan from the Brian Burns problem. What do you guys think about that? Is like, I mean, should we completely give Brian Burns a pass? Not Brian Burns, Dan Morgan, or is there guilt by association? Oh, here it goes.
But like, what
Here's
does it
the passage.
mean?
Hold on. Here's the passage. It said Morgan was second in command behind Scott Fitter in 2022 when the Panthers rejected the Rams offer just days after trading all-pro running back Christian McCaffrey to the San Francisco 49ers. This is Joe Person writing for The Athletic. The lone dissenting voice was former salary cap and contracts executive Samir Suleiman, who believed the Panthers should take the picks for Burns, according to 3 sources familiar with discussions. So he's saying this is that like he was, if you are the person that wants to go back and say it was a big mistake to not send Brian Burns off at that moment, Dan Morgan was one of the people that was leaning into Brian Burns in a way.
Look, to DJ Kid, my mindset is, what have you done for me lately? Like, what would you like us to do different? Like, just say, oh, well, I mean, if you just want us to go back and retroactively blame Dan Morgan for different things that the Panthers have done, like, what purpose does it serve? Like, all we're looking at is it's the year 2024. Dan Morgan was guaranteed to want to build around Bryce instead of going hire another general manager that maybe they wanted to move on, or they didn't believe in all the changes that you just made. Whereas you knew Dan Morgan was a part of that discussion to bring Bryce Young into this organization. Yeah, I'm not saying that Dan Morgan has been perfect, but I don't understand why people expect us or anyone else to nitpick him and like hold this specter over him of all the mistakes that a previous regime has made. Like, I'm not interested, man. What have you done for me lately? And so far, Dan Morgan has done nothing but, I think, really excel in this free agency period.
I agree with DJ the Kid, though, is not to blame him, but to only put the blame on Scott Fitterer for the problems of the past, I think is too simplistic. But I don't think it goes back to even Dan Morgan. I think is putting all the blame. Yeah, I think that's, if you really want to talk about the problems that Scott Fitterer is facing, was this one door in the Matt Rule trying to negotiate with Tepper. So I feel like Scott Fitterer is an easy punching bag in some ways. But guess what? When things don't go wrong, we're going to punch. The other thing that I will ask to these individuals, and I would love for them to contact us in our next show, email, hit me up on Twitter, is it's okay to be upset with what's happened. What would you have done differently then? Like, is if you were Dan Morgan right now, and a lot of people continue, I'm going to call him my Twitter adversary, keep saying, oh, fucking get rid of good players, get mid players. What is the solution? What was the better alternative? Was it signing Brian Burns? Was it then trying to find some, like, what could you, if you were Dan Morgan, what would you have done? And beyond just saying, I would sign Brian Burns, you have to then fill out the rest of the roster. You have to then help try to build around a quarterback that those same people said had nothing. Those same people who want you to spend all the money on keeping these what I think are mid defensive players, are the same people that are complaining about us, or not us, but people talking shit about Bryce because he has nothing. So, like, what would you do if you're Dan Morgan right now? And I believe this, and I was not going to crown him. I'm not going to crown him still yet, but I think there is a logical plan to this, and is 2024 is about trying to evaluate Bryce Young and his relationship to the Panthers as the future. And hopefully at the end of 2024, you feel better about it. At the worst case scenario, you don't. And in the middle case scenario is you're still trying to figure it out. We got 2 more calls and some ice up picks. Man, incredible show tonight. Incredible passion. CK, can you give us 3 more seconds? That's what she said. Oh.
Yo, what's going on, my C3 family? D, sign from North Carolina. Shout out to the great Tony Dunn, homie Cody Lack. Oh, Cold Dizzle, CK, shut the hell up, Panther. Pickle that effing guy muscles, marinara. The great Chris and Ladane, Anthony, the whole family. Love y'all. What a difference 24 hours made. Everybody was crying and boo-hooing. Oh, we're going to be the worst team in the league. Well, Super Dan is cooking, baby. And I'm here for all of it. Super Dan went and got us a receiver for a bag of Funyuns and a Fanta and Dante Jackson. Beautiful thing, man.
Yes, sir.
That's the thing I was talking about with incremental improvement. Making a step forward in every move you make. Now, you got to keep pounding. You got to want to pound. Dan Morgan is getting the dogs, people. Dogs. Cody, let me get a dog. Dog.
Dogs.
Now, as we keep going through this, there's going to be more dogs. And we're going to draft dogs. Hopefully like that Xavier Leggett. And just make an offense that's just going to be 10 times better than last year, that we'll have something to build on. Like D said in the spaces, this is how you build a culture, when you just get a pound full of dogs. Just mean dogs. Ashawn Robinson, dog. Kane Corso, dog. Damian Lewis, dog. The big Hunt boy, dog. That's what we're talking about. Rebuild might take a while, but we gonna have fun while we doing it. Yo, click the like and subscribe to the greatest and the longest in them YouTube streets. That podcast that's like no other. The C3 Panther Podcast. And like for all y'all that just want to cry, I understood why you was upset, but it's done with. And look what's happening. That's why the rear view mirror is smaller than the damn windshield, because you need to see everything in front of you. Help what's behind you.
Pound it, man. Shut up, dude. That's my dog, man.
We got
the best fans.
people.
We got the best fans. It's not even close.
Just real quick is because I asked him, and I appreciate it. I want dissenting opinions on this podcast. I don't want an echo chamber. So when people talk on Twitter about C3 and they say C3 says this, I often get irritated. I'm like, bro, there's a bunch of us. You know, it's like we're not one group. But we are
legion.
DJ, that kid, they do cost that much now. They do cost 15. Unless, well, actually, we don't have a first round, so this year might be cheaper because you don't have a first round pick. So they get a lot more money. Anyway, this was his plan. If he was Brian Burns, he said this: my offseason looked like this. Tag Burns, work on a long-term deal, re-sign Frankie Louvu, get linemen and receivers in the draft. That was my plan. So here's the thing is Brian Burns, with his current deal, is eating up the same exact money as the franchise tag. $23.5 million is what his first year cap hit is for the Giants. It was $24 million on the tag. Next year it's going to go up. You're talking about an offensive line that was terrible, like freaking horrendous last year. And your answer is to do what they did last year and try to get Savala to step in. And Savala gave up a season's worth of pressures in a single game. So I would say that's overly optimistic. What you're trying to do on the offensive side of the line is hoping so much. And then you're going to create these offensive problems that we continue to go with. Get receivers in the draft. So you're trying to repair an offensive line and a receiver core in the draft immediately. You know, and I think that's sinking too much into Brian Burns there. So, like, I just disagree with that plan. I think that what that would do is give you a good player on defense, and you would have neither a good defense and neither a good offense, or even a competent offense. We don't need a good offense. We need an offense that we can learn about. We need an offense where we can figure out if Miles Sanders truly sucks, which I think is he could be better this year. You know, overpay certainly.
I'm just saying that you don't fall off that much in one season for no reason at all,
unless there's something behind the scenes. But it's clearly that offensive line last year. Can anyone argue when was the worst? When was the last time you saw an offensive line for Carolina that was that bad? And I don't know if you could even put the Byron Bell line against it or the Matt Khalil. Yeah. And those fucking offensive lines were horrendous. Last year's offensive line sucked a Drake-sized you know what. Last call of the night.
Yo, well, what up, y'all? Al. I like every move Dan Moore's making, man. I told you guys he's a pure football guy. So this is what happens when you get pure football people in there letting them do their things. They're gonna fucking tear this bullshit down that they constructed, and they're gonna rebuild from the ground up. And this is what's going on right now. I mean, we probably still win only like five games next year, but at least we know we got a direction and a plan that we got going right now. So I'm not mad, man. I like it. I like all the moves, man. We got a big D tackle now to fill up that fucking nose tackle position in the 3-4. We got we got fucking linebacker.
We got a good linebacker. He's small. He's a little smallish, but he's good. Stays on my fantasy team. Man, I like it. I love it. I love it. I don't like it. I love it. You guys have a good night, man. Later, guys.
Appreciate you, Al.
Appreciate it, Al.
Sorry, Al, you're always last, but you're not least. Oh, one more just call came in. We'll play it.
What's up, Panther people? It's Christian in Arizona. Just real quick, I just wanted to add in one thing I was trying to talk to you about on Spaces earlier, but for some reason, JJ was tickling himself trying to get over the Brian Burge trade, and he wouldn't stop giggling. Anyhow, fans seem to forget that, a team can't always make every fucking decision like it's Madden. Sometimes they bitch about not being in on a trade. Sometimes they bitch about, well, shoot, why couldn't we fucking sign Louvu? Trust me, I wanted Louvu. I wanted to get the best players, but they seem to forget that, the player has a fucking interest, and sometimes a decision, many times, the ultimate decision. So just because we didn't re-sign a player doesn't mean we let him go or we fucked up. Sometimes it's just the player just wants a different scenery. If you had job opportunities in different states, wouldn't you take into consideration what your options were, what kind of business plan they had, so on and so forth? Anyhow, have a good night. We'll talk later.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Great point.
Man. Great call.
And Louvu's a great example of that. It's like he said this. The Panthers were interested in bringing him back. Panthers saying we need to bring back Louvu, and Louvu was interested in going somewhere else. Right. So, I mean, there are other complications to this. So I just don't. Cody, how long have we been saying build that wall?
Oh God, probably since what,
2016? Was it? Were you on the show? You weren't that early.
No, it has to be since 2019, 2020. It
was before your first year.
Yeah, it was.
We were
my first year was
a pun on the Trump build the wall shit. Anyway.
Yeah, it was 2018 was my first year. So it had to be 18, 19.
There is nothing. I heard someone talk about this on WFNZ. They got a NFL Network guy on, and he said, look at the teams that went deep in the playoffs last year. They had good offensive lines. And a lot of times those same defenses were awesome that they were opposing, and they negate, their good offensive lines stifled those great defenses a little bit. Like, you can't go into, it starts in the trenches. And right now we need to learn more about the offense. We need to learn more about Bryce Young than we need to learn about Brian Burns.
And if anything, that's why I am optimistic.
I know,
because Dan
the right
Morgan,
direction. We might win 3 games, dude. We might win 4 games.
To the trenches where
and
games
the right
are
side
won.
first.
And they're good players too. When you look at Damian Lewis, Robert Hunt on offense, those are perfect guards for Bryce. And if you're trying to run the ball, that's perfect. And they can pass protect. They have great stats in pass protection. And when you look at Ishawn Robinson on the defensive side of the ball, that is the perfect run stuffer that the Panthers have been sorely in need of. I think Dan Morgan knows what he's doing.
I don't want to over argue with DJ the Kid here, because I have to work too during the day, so I can only invest so much time on Twitter and the podcast during the regular. I have a family, but it puts up things like this: 9-0 to the Bucks, who then dropped 32 on the Eagles. To put some context into that a little bit, a hair of a context is that Baker Mayfield was injured in the game that he played us, like significantly injured. He suffered a pretty he was a hobbled Baker Mayfield with a broke ass, a janky ankle. The Eagles game, that was the first of the playoffs, right? That's first week of the playoffs. I don't know if he got an extra day off and recovery, but we also have to remember that Mike Evans had maybe the worst game in the history of his career, right? He had like 5 drops in that game, right? So it could have been a lot worse, right? And then you have to also put into context this is that the Eagles were on a toilet spiral that changed, where they switched defensive coordinators in the mid, you know what I'm saying? Like, they were a team that was spiraling bad at the same time. So I don't think it's just as simple as saying our defense shut down a team that was ready to fucking blow up the Eagles. I think you have to think about the Eagles and what they were going through, what was going on, where the game was at. I think it was a home game for the Panthers, and nobody played well. It's not like our defense was that. So I just don't think. I think that's a not.
And keep in mind, and listen to this part too. I think it's important. Let's talk about the last 7 games the Eagles had. They lost to the 49ers handedly. They lost to the Cowboys handedly. They lost to the Seahawks. Wasn't a handedly one, but they lost to the Seahawks. They lost to the Giants. They lost to the Cardinals. They lost to the Giants again handedly on that final game of the season, 27-10. They were not the same Eagles. You can sit there and try to equate that as to why our defense is great because of that. You cannot provide any evidence whatsoever that our defense was a top 10 defense. And if your argument isn't that they were a top 10 defense, then it's, that's my point, is it wasn't a defense that's worthy of building around. That is the entirety of this entire situation.
God, we were the worst team in football.
Yeah, right.
Why do you give a fuck?
Exactly.
Why do you care so much about losing players off of a defense that was the worst in football? I'm willing to bet that we're going to be better next year with lesser players.
John,
so it's like,
come on,
man.
2 other, and I mentioned these earlier, you guys, is that we played the Jags, and this was every now and then we were like, oh, here's our moment to get somebody and get some momentum. Here's our moment. We're going to Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence is hurt. You're playing CJ Beathard or whoever the fuck he is. The Jags have been struggling as a fucking team entirely, even with Trevor Lawrence at that point. And you still let whoever, I don't even know who this fucking guy is, throw 70% completion rate. And Etienne, 16 carries, 102 yards. Then you play the Green Bay Packers. You have your best offensive game. Aaron Jones ran it was 20 carries for 140. You know what I mean? It's like, this is that anyway, we're not going to argue about it. Anyway.
Hey, hold on real quick.
This is
Will Horsley. Shout out to Will Horsley, man. Dropping 10 gifted memberships to the C3 Panthers podcast. That is big time, baby.
Great gift.
We appreciate that. And hey, by the way, for the free agent period, yes, I will do my best if there's some breaking news, either tomorrow or whenever before the free for all on Friday. If there is big time breaking news, like a T. Higgins, again, who knows if that'll happen, but if something like that does happen, I will do my best to go live for C3 Panther Nation.
Can we also give a big shout out to our brother, Greg, the Bat Daddy's in the chat. We love you, my friend.
Bat Daddy.
Good to see you. And last part, longest running Panthers podcast. We didn't go to 3:30 in the morning. In fact, we're actually closing kind of on time despite all the news, all the calls.
It's about on time for us.
It is. And maybe, although CK's like, please let me go, please let me go, please let me go. This is kind of early for us. Longest running Panthers podcast, longest running segment. It's the Ice Up segment. Cody Lack, are you ready to ice some fools up?
When am I not ready to ice some fools up?
Ice up, son. Ice up.
It's our homage to Steve Smith where we tell someone to ice up, toughen up to get it together. Some people did point out this today on Twitter that will there be a blood and guts game for, I think we do play Brian Burns and the Giants this year, and another player that they were mentioning. So it was interesting. How about that? Is we'll all be on bated breath to see if Brian Burns gets I think this is that if you're paying that money, what's your number? I think it's 12 sacks for me. If he has less than 12 sacks, I'm kind of disappointed as a Giants fan. To me, if he has single digits, will he wreck the Panthers and will he wreck C3 on that? We'll be watching. Let's talk about some ice up picks. Cody Lack, what do you got? I've got 3 short ones. They'll be easy. I love to ping pong. CK, do you have any tonight?
I do.
Oh, perfect. So we'll do this. CK, you got one?
I got one.
Cody, how many you got?
I got one.
Okay. Well, then I'll start because I have a few and they're real short. Big shout out to Antonio Brown, by the way.
Oh, dude, he's the best
slaying
Twitter
it right now.
now.
Is like he might be first ballot Twitter Hall of Fame for me. And this by the way has nothing to do with him. This guy's just been killing it. He changed. I was not an AB fan for the last 2 years. I might be one now. This doesn't have anything to do with it, but it has to do with the Raiders. And it doesn't. NFL notifications. The CK, you pointed out this one yesterday, this handle. Like, check them out. This is a picture they put up today. This is AI going wrong. What the fuck is this? And who approved this? And was the person that approved it just an internet genius because they knew we're going to talk about it? Whoever this Wilkins guy is, I don't know. Why is he
Wilkins
from who? Okay. Where was he coming from? Where did he?
Miami. He's been with the Dolphins.
Okay. Why he shit out? This is, I don't get this. This is AI gone wrong. So ice up to this, or ice up to me for not being better user of the internet because this got more engagements than our show will. You're up, Cody Lack.
Yeah. So I almost had to, Tony, if I would have played the video that ruined your lunch.
Well, that's one of mine. I'm not going to play it though. I'm going to mention it though.
Yeah, I saw it and was going to, and I'm like, nah. Dude, you just got to be careful whenever you're doing your jujitsus, that you don't knock yourself the fuck out.
My God. Did he knock himself out?
I think he might have broken his neck, dude.
No, he didn't break his neck. I've seen it.
He didn't knock himself out. That guy knocked him out.
But no, what happens if you don't know jiu-jitsu, you'll miss it.
No, I don't. So neither does this motherfucker.
So, what? So he goes. So the other guy tries to shoot. He stuffs the shoot. Then he tries to go.
Oh, he tries to do a whip move.
He tries to go for a flying arm bar, but the guy didn't hold up his weight, and he comes down right on his head.
I'm a CK. I think that's broke.
No, that's not broke. Okay. I've seen this shit before.
But
yeah, careful when doing your jujitsus, man.
CK, since you only got one, not only one, thank you for bringing one. I'm going to do mine, and then we'll go you, and then we'll come back to my final one. This just made me laugh because Japanese people and they're like the Asian people and their fucking sense of humor to me just is fucking incredible. Do you remember that one time that we did the jack off video where they had a show where that was behind the curtain and the guy it was jack off karaoke? And you had to sing. The guy was singing karaoke, and the girl jerked him off. And to me, this is not anywhere at that, but this just made me fucking giggle. This is a Japanese TV or game show where they have to serve food, or they try to serve food on a slanted floor. It's just imagine being like this. I want you to try to wait on this table at a 48-degree angle. To me, that made me laugh today. All right, CK, you're up. Ice up.
All right. So mine is going to be a video. I don't know if we've done this one before, but I saw it and I was like, "This is my ice up."
The bear.
Yeah.
Seen like 2 of these recently. That's been interesting.
So I don't know, this nigga a zookeeper or a nigga the bear. Nigga said, "Oh shit, survival mode." This nigga jumped in the water, try to swim under the water so the bear won't see Kev. The bear like, "No, nigga, I ain't stupid. Nigga,
I hunt fish for a living, motherfucker."
I see you, nigga. You ain't getting away from me. I'm on you. Look, kid thought he was gonna come. Look, Bear, kid, nigga, I'm on your ass. I'm about to jump in here with this nigga. Hold on, kid.
To get him.
This nigga think he getting away. Watch the nigga on the survival mode. I'm on his back, nigga. I'm Uncle Willie.
Baby, riding the
I'm
fucking
Uncle Willie,
bear.
son. This nigga in here fighting the bear. I'm Uncle Willie.
Oh, good for him.
Uncle Willie, son. Survival instincts. Go for what you know, nigga. Uncle Willie, son. Get on, kid. Get on, kid. Yeah. Look, the bear. Oh, this nigga, God. This nigga's strong.
What are we icing up here, CK?
I'm icing that bear up, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Icing that bear up, bro. He had that dude dead to rights, bro.
Yeah,
And he just let that dude just about drown him in the water in his domain. Like that happened in his house. And he just let the dude come in there and just do that to him. Ice up that bear right now.
I'm not going to show this video. I refuse to show this video. I will just put this tweet up then. I really feel like I mowed money from this motherfucker. And I also don't believe the internet completely, right? Like, so everything's fake. So this tweet said this is, I was sitting at my desk eating lunch, right? And I'm just scrolling through Twitter, making sure that there's no Panther news coming up. And it says this. So Walmart has contacted me and threatened litigation because my girlfriend took a shit near the deli. Fun fact, your restrooms were out of order. Now, when you're scrolling through Twitter, it gives you the automatic play on videos. And I'm reading it and watching it. And this bitch straight takes a shit. A nasty ass shit on the floor. Nasty. Fucking terrible. I've got kids, bro. I've seen nasty shits. I've cleaned kids' nasty shits up. This shit was fucking terrible.
AP says show it.
No, I'm not showing it, dude. I will not. I've already watched it one time. Actually, maybe twice by accident because I was still hurling. I did have to write this. Is motherfucker, I'm on Walmart's side. Was my first response to this. And number two, I'm suing you for ruining my goddamn lunch. I didn't say goddamn. It's fucking terrible. I dump her. That's what he said. But my thing is this is the real thing that makes me question is this real? Is if you're putting this up and you say this is my girlfriend. You know, I'm just like, wait a second. You found a video of some girl taking a shit.
That's not her boyfriend.
It's nasty. But anyway, fuck this motherfucker. The one time in my life I'm rooting for corporate America is today. I hate corporate America at all moments when it comes to their profits and all of this. But these poor God-forsaken workers, this bitch deserves to go to jail. She deserves.
Don't shit where you eat. Don't shit where you eat.
All right, that's it. That's the ice up pick to you and to her. Fuck that. Oh, it was horrendous. This is the C3 Panthers podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. Longest running Panthers podcast into the wee hours of Wednesday morning. We had a super bonus episode last night. Fun show. Giant audience. Hey, you guys can help us. If you're still listening right now, you're the man. You're the woman. Whoa, man. Whoa, man. Share the fucking show. Don't take a shit in Walmart. Press the thumbs up. Cork that butthole with a thumbs up. Share the show with us to wherever. Tell a friend about it. Call into the show. Be an amazing person like these amazing people that I hang out with on Tuesday nights. My wheelman, Cody Light, thanks for hanging out with me. CK, give the best to your family. I feel like this. I feel like you're looking thinner, bro.
Yeah, I'm down about 25 pounds.
25, motherfucker, yes.
Good job,
do not talk about pasta in front of me.
Right.
I will eat you, motherfucker. Cody Light, take us out of here, bro.
C3 Panther Nation. Until this Friday, when we do the C3 Friday Free for All, the show for the fans, by the fans, we are going to do what we always do. And that's to keep pounding.